Oh, that was.
Why am I thinking hotel? Why? What? What did you just do this row expansion? Actually, no, row expansion is the code. If I were you, row expansion actually is actually so much faster than that.
I call this meeting to order at 4:03 p.m. So starting with roll call. Here, guys.
Here.
What is that?
What?
Caitlin? Here. That's here. Joel? She should be joining online too. Javier?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Diana? Here. Ian?
Here.
Ted?
Here.
Megan? Benjamin? Verenchi?
Here.
Leandre?
Here.
Christopher Blue?
Here.
Aaron? Aaron?
Not here yet.
Okay. Bria? Here. Adrian? Adrian, I just saw for some reason. Jenna? Here. Jason?
Here.
Nicholas? Nicholas?
Not here.
And Kate?
Not here.
Matthew? Here. Daniela? And Jen.
Also, can someone call?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also Joel just joined on Zoom. Yeah. Okay, moving on to approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of January 24th, 2024? Javier.
I move to approve the minutes for January 24th, 2024.
Matthew.
I second.
Moved by Javier, seconded by Matthew. Any objections? Seeing none, moving on to public comments. Does anyone have any public comments? Ariana?
Archives will be holding winter study sessions every Monday from 4 to 6 p.m. at the center.
Jason?
For the first years especially, TK is going to be having an accelerator event where we can help you figure out what classes you have to take for your dream school and build your class schedule accordingly and fill up your resume. So sign up for that. So that's good.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, moving on to advisor announcements. Dennis, do you have any advisor announcements?
Yeah, a couple things. One, so this week is the information item to present the 24-25 DSG budgets. And hopefully today we won't move on. Yeah, like I said, it's just information discussion, just to present and answer any questions. Next week is the first vote, the discussion action. We will provide dinner. It's quite possible we'll be here till 9 p.m. So just know that. 9 p.m. we have to leave the building. If we do not finish by 9 p.m. we just recess the meeting, I think. Something like that, if I remember right. And then we just pick up where we left off the weekend. You should have all gotten a copy of the budget announcement I sent out Monday evening to everybody at the college, pretty much. Released all the budgeters and administrators and so on. So if you did not receive that, let me know. I'm pretty sure it should have gone to everyone. But it just gives some information about what what things will be like next week and so on. So just for those of you that weren't here last year, after public comments on the agenda next week will be a special section called the budgeter comments. Each account, not person, each account will have up to 2 minutes to speak on their request. And of course, if they want to, they can stay for the rest of the meeting too, but that's just to give everybody a chance at the beginning at least to make a comment about their budget request. We'll have a sign-up sheet, both paper one and one online for any people that come on Zoom. And usually we go through the paper sign-in sheet list first and then the online sign-in sheet. We just call the names of the people who signed in to speak as for their accounts. Student elections are coming up, and currently, at least, the application deadline is Monday at 4 p.m. So that's this coming Monday, the 5th. Most people submit their application, the last day or two, before it's due. So, we don't really know what things are like right now, but right now we have 3 applications submitted. A VP, an ICC chair, and a student trustee. After the deadline next week, Isaac, Ted, and I will be meeting, and we'll see if we have enough applications or if we feel like we should extend the deadline. No more than that.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Any advisors online have any public comments? Maritza, Dana, or Hanju?
Yeah, I can, so let's see. The thing, first, not so fun stuff, but just reminders for folks. If we can please remember to take care of the DSG lounge and the meeting rooms. It's your space, right? It's your space, but it's also the public face of DSG, right? Students come in there, but I almost every time I come in there, if ICC has to meet, it's looking a mess. So if you can please take ownership of the space, clean up after yourselves after you use it, or just clean up when you're there, even if it's not your mess. The reminder, it's your space. There are expectations around holding it. Second thing, when you're reserving spaces for your info sessions, please remember ICC meetings. You should not be reserving the chambers Mondays or Wednesdays, 1 to 1:30 to 3:30. That's ICC. We were okay last Monday, but just please try to remember ICC meetings. Mondays, Wednesdays, that time. If you're not sure, if you forget, just please check with me. On the bright side, Club Day was awesome. And we're always grateful for DSG's involvement. So thank you to everyone from DSG who volunteered, either as a club rep or on behalf of DSG. We had a really great turnout, and I'll say this was probably the most engagement I saw between programs and clubs and then students that were interested. So just thank you, for making that possible. That's it for me for now.
Thank you, Maritza. Would you like to go next?
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm about to hit the grapevine. I'm driving to Anaheim and it's very windy on the road. Just a if I'm gonna need.
You got
sorry?
cut off with any of that.
Oh shoot. Okay, sorry. I'm about to hit the grapevine here. I will need a number for how many people will be there next Wednesday, including finance interns. So I can coordinate the dinner. I'm thinking of getting a Panda Express. So if anybody strongly objects to that, let me know and offer some suggestions. So that will be next Wednesday's dinner at Senate. The other thing is the GP, the Guided Pathway Village anniversary event will be coming up on Tuesday, February 13th. I know that we've been sending out communication for that. So please put that on your calendar and come out and show your support. And then did we talk about the scholarships that are going to be distributed to DAs, the senators soon?
We haven't talked about that yet.
Okay, so just very quickly, and Malia may have was going to say this in her announcement, but I just want to let folks know that she is getting ready to send out an email to all the senators who receive the scholarship. It will have your specific amount and a kind of a rubric or spreadsheet that we use to determine your amount. So it'll show the deductions and why you were deducted. If you have any deductions, if you have any questions about it, please reach out to Lydia. Lydia and possibly myself or Dennis can meet with you if you have any questions. But it should be pretty clear when you see the assessment or rather the evaluation form that shows whether or not you received any deductions. And Dennis, can you share when the senators can receive, when can they anticipate their payment? Do you know? And then that's all I had.
I sent financial aid an email, didn't get back a reply directly answering the question, but I do know that the person in financial aid working on it said she was going to start entering them in. So it's possible you'll see the award amount in your student accounts maybe even by the end of this week. I haven't received a firm date yet.
Okay, thank you. So we will just keep you all posted if it's going to be delayed, but we hope to get you all paid very soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hanju. Dana, do you have any announcements?
Yes, I just wanted to encourage anybody who hasn't been to the flea market to come out on Saturday, this Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. to see what we're all about and just to reinforce that our revenues go back to you. And also we will be doing a mini flea market on February 13th, the same day as the Global Village event. So that will be in the main quad, and that's open only to campus, students, faculty, and staff. And that's a promotion of our flea market to give people kind of a little sneak preview of what we're up to every first Saturday. So thank you very much. We're going to look forward to talking or listening what's going on with the budget in the next few weeks. Thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you, Dana. Malia, do you have any additional comments?
I do not. Hanju pretty much covered it. There's no comment from.
Okay. Moving on to Senate announcements. Are there any Senate announcements? Adrian.
The wildflowers planting will be happening next Tuesday from 3 to 5 p.m. Okay, I've got it confirmed with the advice of Diana. We're going to be breaking soil outside of the Kirk Center. No, not the Kirk Center, sorry. The La Vida office, so ECOT is kind of by the sunken garden. Like Flint Center and the sunken garden, so it's over there. For any senators that are interested in coming, you can count it as field hours. So please come help us.
If you could also put that in the Senate chat, that would be great. Are there any other Senate announcements? None? Oh, Isaac?
Election is coming next. The election deadline is next Monday. So if you are interested in running for general election next week, remember to submit your application. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. Thanks.
And remember, anyone can run for that election. It's separate from the vacant office.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, there's one candidate, there's somebody mentioned that somebody told them they have to be intern first, but not for the general election. This is open to all students, as long as you meet the minimum, state requirements, 2.0 GPA and 8 units, you can apply. And during winter quarter, we elect the DHG executive officers. And then spring is the internal election for the other positions.
Are there any other announcements? Okay, moving on to student trustee announcements.
No, not as of right now.
Okay, moving on to shared governance reports. Is that,
I go up there.
oh, yeah,
I sent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, hi guys, so RAP met yesterday. And okay, so the first, I guess, big thing that we did was RAP finally approved the recommendation for funding 5 positions. So that's gonna be the enrollment services position, the physics lab tech position, anthropology full-time faculty, and then the leadership development and student activities coordinator, alongside a ground supervisor as well. So these are the 5 that were approved. I think these 5 were generally like pretty consensus for the most part amongst the committee, so across students and also the other groups as well. So that's great. So, okay, with regards to the leadership development and student activities coordinator, that's all we can kind of do from RAP now. So RAP recommended to college council. Now college council has to decide if they want to recommend it to the president, and then technically the president has final say on what to do there. But yeah, the next big thing I guess is that now that that's kind of now that that's kind of like recommended, we as like the RAP committee members, we just wanted to get more feedback. I know I did this last week, but I feel like last week it was a bit easier, kind of like figuring out which ones we decided were important. But now it's kind of more subjective on which positions do we recommend. So I kind of just wanted to go over some of these and ask some questions directly to some of you guys here, whether it's public, whether it's senators. So okay, the first one is music. That one was kind of like a big thing because basically the music department, which apparently should have 6 full-time faculty, only has 1. And it's like, if you want to keep the program running, we should get another full-time faculty here. So did anyone here take like music classes at Nyanza? Javi, how do you feel about like the current state of the?
I mean, I took a music class in my first fall quarter, so it was a while ago. But I do have like one friend that's currently taking music classes, and she said she's enjoying it.
She said as well?
Yeah, she said she's enjoying it.
She's enjoying it, okay. Anyone have anything to say about this position? No, okay. I want to talk about maybe anthropology, humanities, sociology. I know these are like general education requirements for a lot of people. I wouldn't know because I didn't finish IGEP, but how do you guys feel about like these classes? Do you guys feel like there's enough offered? Or is it like, yeah?
I know my professor was like during our introduction, he was talking about how these, like at least the anthropology section is running on like part-time professors. And he feels like that's not really fair to them because then they're incentivized to like do part-time lectures in a lot of colleges, which means just less time dedicated for each student. And yeah, especially for anthropology, he said like it's mostly part-time professors, so maybe having some more frequent.
I see, okay. Is that something, does anyone else want to say anything about that? No, okay, thanks, Jason. All right, and then moving on to, I mean, CIS, I kind of know CIS already, so. What about visual arts and design? Anyone take visual arts and design here? No opinions on that? Okay, there was another one that I think, comparative ethnic studies.
okay, so this position, I kind of want to talk about this position, but it's something we've already kind of clarified about it. Essentially, it's like, RAP feels like, oh, maybe this is something that we should do because technically this is gonna be required for IGETC next year. It fulfills one of the requirements, but then there's also a lot of departments that, or like a lot of other positions that also help complete this as well. So, okay, chemistry, that's the one I was looking for. I know people here have to take chemistry. How do you guys feel about the chemistry department? Too little classes, not enough classes, what are you guys feeling? Jason?
Oh, from what I've seen, it looks like there is enough classes, but I know a lot of the professors are part-time based.
I think I'm not. Well, some courses don't only offer one section or two sections during like winters or spring. But I think the most important problem is that since the fact that the lab is so long, it's often conflicts with other subjects like physics or biology.
Oh, I see. So is that more of a scheduling issue, or do you think having more?
I mean, it would probably help, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know the details.
I see, okay. Do you guys feel like, yeah, from anyone here that's taking chemistry, do you guys feel like enough classes are offered? Because I know chemistry is a requirement for a lot of different majors.
Yeah. If anything, biology is the one that's left in professors. So.
Yeah, I see. Okay. Thanks for the feedback. Does anyone have anything to say with, so the ones I highlighted here, okay, so just ignore these moderate ones, look at all these highs, and then if you ignore all the highs that I highlighted, are there any positions here that people feel strongly about or, you know, want to advocate for right now? Because we're just trying to get a general idea. Yeah.
Environmental science.
Okay.
Sometimes it's kind of hard to find. Like,
Classes. Okay.
Auto tech.
Auto tech.
I was talking with the Adam, one of the members there. And I was talking about how auto tech is the same case as music, where there's supposed to be like a lot of faculty, full-time faculty, but right now they only have one. So if we're advocating for music, so we might as well advocate for auto tech.
From what I understand, auto tech is kind of interesting in that they also want to have like a bachelor's program as well or something.
Yeah.
So this would be something to help them grow to that level.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Anyone care to take auto tech classes? No, okay, Jason?
I think physics lab technician might.
Oh, that's already approved.
Oh,
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Bio and chem have 2 lab techs, physics has 0.
yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
That's not Professor Wrong.
Hyunju. Yeah. There.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about the auto tech positions. I know that right now, because especially California, we're moving to electric vehicles. There just are not enough electricians, or not electricians, but auto tech workers who can work on electric vehicles. And so it's a huge problem right now. So I would be in favor and encourage, I hope that position passes, because they're really trying to fill a great void that we have now and in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Hyunju. So for RAP people here, so auto tech, environmental science, anthro, those are things that we can maybe take a look at before next meeting as well. Oh, not anthro, sorry. Was it? Oh, the anthro's already approved as well, actually, Jason. So that's good. I mean, they say chemistry is like, I mean, we can look into it, but it seems like it's just like a nice to have, more so than like the actual like required things. So far, environmental science and auto tech are the things that we can maybe look into
And music.
and ask about.
And music.
Music, yeah, and music. Okay, if no one has any other opinions about this, I could send the highlighted ones. Oh, yeah, Chris.
Is comparative ethnic studies gonna be a priority? Because I know it's gonna be a requirement, and just looking at the spring class listings, there's only 6 ethnic studies classes, and 3 of them are actually intro. So
Right.
is that gonna be something?
So, yeah, so it was kind of a big talking point because of the new IGETC requirements. So we also talked to Eric Woodbury as well regarding this, and apparently, the list of classes that can fulfill the requirement for this. Like, if you just look at just the comparative ethnic studies by itself, it seems like there's not a lot of offerings, but if you look at the classes that fulfill that requirement, then it spans across like multiple departments, and if you combine like that department into like one kind of block, their part-time to full-time ratio, or their full-time to part-time ratio is actually like decently high. So there should be enough offerings for this. We can take a look at it again, like, just like to make sure the numbers like are right, just to make sure, you know, we want to make sure students get their IGETC done, right? So we can see like to see if this is something that's like hugely prioritized or not. It was just something that initially it looked like, ooh, this is something that might have to be in the top 5. And then we kind of decided, okay, maybe it's not as pressing as we thought it was, but we can get back to you on it again, just to make sure.
Right.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? If not, I can flip this into the Senate chat. You guys can look at it again if you want. If you don't want, it's fine. And then next week, RAP is going to hopefully get a list of the next 5 to recommend to College Council. Okay, so that's it.
So, Jason?
Sure. So the curriculum committee met yesterday and we're just continuing our course review, but then some points of note was that we're going through the standalone courses, which are courses that they're not part of requirement of the degree, but those courses are usually catered towards professionals to like advance their career using some special skills. And then we also made sure that so the courses, if you guys see like in the schedule of class, there are some courses that there are like, let's say chemistry 50 and then chemistry 50X. So they're the same courses, but just with different credit units. We're just trying to make sure the change reports for those courses are the same.
Hanju, did you have something to say?
Actually, this was related to the RAP topic we were just on. So, sorry, I don't think someone, can I say something real quick or have a question? So, so it's at, or did I hear you say that the first 5 that's going to College Council includes our activities coordinator position? It's Maritz's position. I think I heard that. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. That would be a cause for celebration. I'm just a little bit like, I don't want to get my hopes up because, you know, who knows what happens like later, but yes, technically it's very good news.
Okay, and so we're all in support of it, right? Okay, all right, just wanted to clarify, thanks.
Okay, any other shared governance reports? Anyone? Ted, do you want to do College Council?
Sure. So College Council met last Thursday, and they discussed adding college duties to College Council membership in order to take position back to constituents before taking action. And data was also presented on disproportionately impacted the agricultural students at Alianza in the timeline and success rate in different aspects. Measure G update also included probable board study sessions in March. One important thing is the health clinic update, which the county is currently working on feasibility study for health clinic in parking lot B. This would likely impact free market during construction. The ground lease with the county and last year SU revenue would be written into the lease. There is also updates from Pam Ray and President about this impact and the need for answers which are coming and will be shared. And regarding grant updates, there is the SWP funding report which was approved and the operational decisions for funding processes to the college council and board was discussed.
Okay, thank you. I have one from Academic Senate on January 29th. Something was that they discussed affordable housing updates, including discussions within the task force. I include on and off this housing. And their benefits and challenges from the Bay Area Housing Finance Program. They also talked about the $20 million grant that will be awarded from that. For DASG, they mentioned that the proposed location for the student housing would be parking lot A north of the proposed medical center. And for the Sunnyvale Center, the proposal had some challenges, including other construction and location walkability. Concerns were also brought up about the Measure D projects and healthcare clinic timeline, with all these projects around at the same time. Additionally, RAP updates were presented. Bring any concerns to your RAP reps. The second reading of the course sunset policy and course program and proposal forms. They updated the amount of days for the course sunset and other language. They also discussed their academic senate scholarship, which should be up on the academic work soon. And they also discussed training and support for RSI and online teaching and presented that. Moving on to internal DHG committee reports. Asia?
So programs unofficially met today. It was just like a working meeting for the mini flea market happening. And then also the environmental sustainability, eco fund, and also the wildflowers. A date has finally been decided, thankfully, so 3 to 5 on Tuesday and every Tuesday until all of the wildflowers are planted. That's gonna be happening. So the first, I guess, session of it is gonna be outside of the East Cottage near the Flint Center. So if you're interested, 3 to 5 next Tuesday. And then we just talked about what events we're thinking of doing this week.
Caitlin?
Marketing has 5 posts in progress, of which also includes DSPS and sorry, I forgot. Anyways, merge is also in progress, like stickers.
Isaac?
The administration met today, went through new proposal code and passed the proposed administration election code. Continued discussion on scheduling, and surveys, SSC updates and election in-person outreach.
Megan?
Sorry. As I met today and we discussed an assigned content writing task whether we were doing in collaboration with marketing, resources. And we also continued planning for the upcoming research fair, which is happening February 16th.
Okay. You got it.
We approved the budget for Fund 41 and Fund 46. And we're recommending it here, and then we're gonna talk about it here today. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay, moving on to consent calendar. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar? Adrian?
I would prefer the consent calendar.
Virgie.
Next year.
Moved by Adrian, seconded by Virgie. Are there any objections? Seeing none, consent calendar is approved. We'll be moving on to the first business item, which is the 2024 to 25 DHG budget transfer. This is to discuss and approve the transfer of $100,000 from the restricted fund balance account. This is surplus reserve for next year's budget to the fund, to the 41,321,000 general reserve as agreed by the DHG finance. Lisa, if you present this item?
Yes, I can. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, the committee, when they went through the budget, they had quite a large amount because of the COVID relief funds. So there's $100,000 that they decide to move back to the general reserve, which is a restricted fund balance account. That is just replenishing that fund, restricted fund balance. General reserve was $500,000 in the past. And over several years, it was reduced to only $400,000. So this is just putting that general reserve back up to the $500,000 amount. I showed the finance committee on the balance sheet where you see these accounts. I don't know if that would be helpful or if there are any questions that senators have.
Anyone have any questions about this? I don't think there are any questions, so we can move on to a motion. So can I get, please.
I move to approve the transfer of $100,000 from the restricted fund balance account 41,323,000 surplus reserve for next year's budget to 41,321,000 general reserve as agreed by the DHG Finance Committee during our budget deliberations.
Second. Moved by Yvette, seconded by Isaac. Any objections? Seeing none, this is approved. Thank you, Lisa. We'll be moving on to the second business item, which is the DHG finance. Yvette?
So these finance code changes, for the most part, is just to reflect the change in the DASG flea market liaison, which is moving from the finance committee to the programs committee. So we're just removing them here. So in all the places where they previously were, right? And then I believe there's the travel stipulation things that is at the end, right? Yeah. So there were just like some restrictions for funding for like travel, right, meal expenses that we decided to take out. I think Dennis, if you want to elaborate more on.
Yeah, so this actually came up at a finance committee meeting earlier last quarter as well. So these restrictions here, one, I'm not sure they really should be in the finance code anyway. They're more budget stipulations, and the finance committee will be talking about those later in the quarter as part of the budget deliberation process. Same here. And then the dollar amounts, we wanted to review anyway as well. So while working on the budget deliberation process, we'll be deciding on what, if any, stipulations to put in there about travel and what the dollar amounts might be. So we're recommending that they be removed from the finance code for the food expenses and the travel expenses here. And I think that was it for this something. So it was the flea market stuff, that stuff. And then there was one thing, I was gonna look it up before to just double check what a good definition would be. But I did have one person come ask me for something that does come up a lot that we forgot to add, that I forgot to put in the glossary last year. So I'll work with city council to get a good definition for the terms, but if you guys agree, we would like to also get a motion to add general ledger and general ledger account to the glossary.
Is there a motion? Adrian?
I move to add general ledger account in the glossary.
Second. Jason?
I said,
Moved by Adrian, seconded by Jason. Any objections? No objections.
And then we need action, right? Yeah, and then we need a motion to approve the financial changes as mentioned.
Ian?
I move to amend the finance code as
Approve the finance code.
what?
Approve the finance code changes as amended.
The finance code changes as amended.
Nico?
A second.
Moved by Ian, seconded by Nico. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the code is approved. Okay, moving on to the next business item. This is the proposed environmental sustainability Senate structural changes. So this is to present, discuss, and possibly approve Senate changes regarding ES positions and a committee or structural changes. This could include a separate committee, adding additional ES positions, or adding ES to the administrative committee. And Adrian and Elsie will be presenting this, but to give a bit of context before, I'm sure you all are aware of the Senate structural changes that went on this year. And from last year, we had about, I believe it was 10 committees or maybe 11. And ES was one of those committees. And this change was put into place to make sure that the work is more streamlined and to not have any additional committees, but we'll be discussing, as this conversation has been coming up for a while, if there need to be any ES changes. And one more thing to note is that we did add a bike program coordinator a couple of weeks ago. So the ES in Senate has actually two positions. Right now, the ES coordinator, which is Adrian, and the bike program coordinator, which we haven't yet recruited for. So Adrian, I know you have a presentation. You wanna come up?
Yes.
Dennis?
And yeah, while Adrian is heading up to the front, the one thing I did want to make sure people know, if you weren't here last year, while the restructuring was being discussed, is that, we knew at the time that this was essentially our pilot year. We're gonna, make changes, see how things work out. Tweak anything that needs tweaking, there's another committee that we have to make an addition to that we discovered. So yeah, I mean, it was never meant to be set in stone because we know it's a big change and, we might need to make adjustments as we do that.
Yeah. You wanna?
Yeah, sure. So I have to come over here every once in a while to change the slide. All right, so, hi, everybody. As you all know, we had an ES committee last year, but it got reduced to one position. That's me. So I'd like to talk about the environmental sustainability structure and just kind of stress that sustainability matters, okay? Yeah, so let's get to it. Okay, so let's start it out, set the tones with kind of inspirational quote. The greatest threat to nature is the belief that someone else will save it. Okay, so we have to be the ones doing the work. And yeah, so let's do the work. So this is by Robert Swan, who's an environmentalist and first person to visit both the North and South Poles. So yeah, just setting the tone. So what's the problem? While DSG has had an environmental sustainability committee since 2008, that's a long time. That's the majority of most of our lives. It was abolished with last year's structure changes. Wow, big change. Okay, so environmental sustainability was cut to just one senator and placed on the programs committee. So that's the problem. Why does it matter? So one senator just does not have the productive capacity of an entire committee. It's just kind of a fact. So currently, ES productivity depends on just one person can complete on their own. With several projects and ambitious goals, it's impossible to get to everything and not everything is being dealt with at the moment. So at this point, Dennis is managing getting new bikes. Thank you so much, Dennis, for taking on that part of ES. But if ES was its own committee, there would be more resources to manage and complete projects like this in the committee itself. When ES was bringing back the bike program and revamping the e-bikes, they were kind of under the impression last year that that was going to be handled in ES. And that's just not the case. Right now, it's being handled mostly by the Office of College Life with not that much DSG involvement. So it'd be nice if DSG could take back our own projects. Okay, so here's a little comparison. So basically, environmental sustainability needs time and resources that it's just not getting right now. So as a combined committee, ES1 does not have its own agenda. The meetings that we're in currently have several different goals and focuses because we had 3 committees and now it's in one. So we've got a lot of stuff to go over in one committee time. So currently the meetings go from fairly brief discussions, ES updates about environmental sustainability, and then to discussions about events and the flea market and that kind of thing. It's not a focused meeting with just one thing. And I would argue that ES is not related in the same way that events and the flea market are, because they are kind of both events. So unlike committees, there are no environmental sustainability updates or committee reports at the Senate level. So every week when there's are there any committee reports? Well, there's no ES committee reports because ES isn't its own committee. So everything that's happening with ES is happening only in programs and isn't being shared to the rest of the Senate, which is, I view as a problem. So there are other senators on the committee, but they're assigned to flea market and events, which is that's what they're there for. That's what they were elected for, and that's what the codes say that they're there for. So it's good that they're there. The problem is just that it's not the same as having an ES committee. So there's only one senator to delegate ES tasks to interns, which can be a lot. So for the ES committee, If it was its own, it would have its own agenda and a focused meeting time to discuss only sustainability goals. With more time spent on sustainability and more ES senators, there'd be more time to delegate to interns and overall greater productivity. So ES updates would be communicated through internal committee reports at the Senate level by default. ES goals would also be included at the beginning of the year by default as well. Like this year, when the presentations were happening, like what's everybody like wanting to do for their committees, I kind of had to like stand up and say my ES goals because I just was not included on that presentation by default. It was like if I hadn't said something and spoken up, then it would have just been like ES was not there. So yeah, that's kind of a problem. So the power of a name, right? So having a committee with environmental sustainability in the name signals to anyone interested in environmental sustainability that there's a place for them to do that work in DSG. Currently, our marketing posts don't have any mention of ES, so people who would be interested don't know to join. This is a screenshot of an actual like marketing post, like, and it's just because we don't have an ES committee. So what are they supposed to do? We've just got the names of the committees and when, right? We can't really expect too much more from it. The problem is just that we don't have an ES committee and that there's no mention of ES being part of programs. So how are people supposed to know to join if they're interested? It even says get involved by attending the meetings of committees you're interested in. Well, how are people interested in environmental sustainability supposed to know that there's a committee for them when it's not even mentioned? So that's kind of a problem. Yeah. So another issue at the moment is programs meetings are super crowded. It's not great. So it's hard for all of the senators and interns to fit around the table with the way things are now. If ES was its own committee, the meetings would be less crowded and more focused overall. You know, it's kind of when you've got like a 3-in-1 thing, the room is pretty crowded. So yeah, if we could make that less of a 3-in-1 and have ES be its own committee, that would be pretty nice. That would be sweet. Okay, so here is a list of our current ES projects. Thank you, Asia, for typing these up. So at the moment, the Wildflowers project is being handled, right? We're making good progress on that. It's happening. But the rest of the projects are kind of falling behind. Like with just one senator to be managing all of it, it's a lot. And there's not a lot of senators to do it. So it'd be nice if there were some other like elected people to delegate and work on this. Yeah, so we've got wildflowers planting, we've got the Eagle Fund, which we've just got to kind of like work on streamlining that and making it easier for students and advertising it so that people will actually want to use it. And then brainstorming what we can do with it if we don't get applications, which hopefully we will get applications. I also think that we should implement DSG sustainability criteria, because at the moment it's like we like to think that we're sustainable, but there's nothing, we're not holding ourselves to anything. There's no like survey, we're not rating how we're doing or what we could be doing better. So I think that's something that we should be working on. Something simple is we could just advertise the reusable cup discount at Power Cup to kind of get people to bring their own cups. We can work with facilities to see if they can stop breaking up the leaves as much, like obviously off of the paths, but it's mostly for aesthetics and it's valuable habitat for wildlife, those same pollinators that we're trying to help with the Wildflowers project overwinter in those leaves, and they're kind of just being thrown away. So you're throwing away threatened species just for the sake of aesthetics when it also helps the soil be like, it helps it with like moisture and with blocking weeds from coming up. So, you know, there's an argument to be made for that. Currently, I'm working with a subcommittee on Environmental Sustainability Action Council to implement free stream recycling and composting at DANZA. So that's something that we are working on. We're also trying to brainstorm something to do for Earth Week. That'd be nice. And then we're collaborating with VC, and we should really be collaborating with other environmental groups on campus too. So yeah, and then we've got some things that interns can be doing from this list. Okay, so there's that. Yeah, there's a lot to do, not a lot of people to do it. that are like actually hired and being paid and can be held properly responsible for it. So, okay, so we are taking steps backwards in a climate crisis. So we live in an age when our planet and global ecosystems are in a climate crisis. Like, that's just kind of a fact. There's extinctions, habitat loss, global warming, pollution. The list just kind of goes on. Like, we all kind of know it. So together we need to do our part to combat this crisis and do what we can to be sustainable. And in spite of this, in spite of the time that we live in and what's happening, DSG has arguably taken steps backwards by abolishing the Environmental Sustainability Committee. Instead of moving forward, DSG has reduced its capacity for environmental action when we need to be making steps forward. So if environmental sustainability was reinstated as a committee, the whole task force could be formed, so DSG can do its part towards becoming sustainable. Like, it'd be nice to have a whole group of people working on this. So, what can we do? We can reinstate the ES committee with a chair, vice chair, and at least 2 senators for next year. With more senators, a focused committee time, and automatic integration at the Senate level, we can fix these problems. Okay. Why this group matters. Okay, so we are the first Senate with the new structure change, right? Some of us were here last year as well, and we witnessed the structure change unfold firsthand. Some of us even voted on it, okay? But that means that we have the power to notice when things have changed for the worse, and we have the power to do something about it. So let's do something about it. Thank you. I beg of you, reinstate the ES committee, please. Thank you.
Okay, so hello, I'm the curator program, in case anyone didn't know. So just to kind of like echo what Adrian said. So we were talking also like beforehand, and so we kind of, or I kind of mentioned that like I think for this year's Senate, we should just see how it goes, just adding one, you know, like the bike program coordinator that we added, and then just like seeing how we can delegate amongst interns with like 2 people having interns assigned to them versus just only Adrian, for example. But then what we also had talked about was like for next year, it kind of does make sense to see how it goes with the committee. Obviously, like I think most of us hopefully won't be here, that we all get into where we want, but like I think it would be worth it, you know, like for the reasons that Adrian mentioned. And then also something I thought about too was last year is kind of like a little bit of a bad data point to consider, in my opinion, just because the way that the committees were set up wasn't as structured as this year's is, in the sense that it was kind of just like, there's the chair and then like whatever senators, like on the ES code, I was like looking it up and that's literally what it says. It just says chair and at least 2 senators. So it was kind of defined later on what those senators would be, but it seemed more like a whichever position they want to go to. So if it is a proper committee with like the chair, vice chair, and then like whatever other positions that would need to be in it, I feel like it could actually work better than just abolishing it completely or like trying to like cram in a committee this year. And also that way too, for elections that are like basically happening right now, it would be a good time to like get it implemented so that people who are interested will see that there's something new that they can check out, you know. So I think it's something to definitely consider. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to add, I noticed that it did say that there is only 1 ES person delegating this, but with the additional bike program coordinator, there would be 2. Adrian?
Okay, but that hasn't happened yet. Like, we haven't hired someone, we don't have someone working on that at the moment. Like, we can say, okay, that'll happen soon, but we need that person to be here now. And that, we haven't even started, we haven't put out marketing for it. We haven't put out anything for it. We approved it in executive advisory, right? But like, we don't have a second person yet.
I think, or Caitlin, Tony.
For marketing, I'm waiting on a description for it.
You gotta approve it in the codes.
That
So, yeah, I can just comment on that really quick, because, yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah, so. In the programs committee, we haven't approved any code changes because this like conversation about what we're gonna do has just been like kind of recycling like through in like a kind of circle over and over again. So we never actually were able to confirm any changes for our code, which is why we haven't done any marketing for it, because there was kind of a confusion of what positions were being added. But I think at this point, it's pretty clear that like we're only adding one more ES position for this year's Senate and for this year's code. So we'll send that to marketing very soon, but that's why like we don't have that position, because the discussion just kept going back and forth of like, what are we going to be doing? So I guess if that answers.
Yeah, but that's in progress, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone's aware of that. Because while that hasn't happened yet, it should be something to keep in consideration if we're talking about the future. But, okay. I think Matthew has my other question.
I had a question about this item. Are we voting to add new positions for this year or next year or both or either?
We can decide sort of when we want to change this, and for this item, it's very flexible, like Adrian's presentation was on having it as a separate committee, but we can discuss like there are a lot of different changes. Something that came up was adding ES to administration, or having like different positions, and yeah. But yeah, it's flexible, Dennis.
Well, I think Richie had.
I think Matthew kind of took my question. I was just asking, I know that it's an action item. What are we exactly like doing? Like, what's
Yeah,
our action?
we're deciding like if we want to, we're deciding to potentially approve any Senate changes. So we could decide to put in administration, have as a separate committee.
I don't know if Wenchu's still around and has anything to add, but I know when we have talked about it, that we are both in favor of strongly in favor of making it a committee again, as it should have been in the first place. As I stated earlier, none of the changes that were made for this year were meant to be set in stone. And yes, you need to not necessarily look at just last year or whatever as a benchmark for what environmental sustainability could be. I mean, if you were to just look at last year, a lot of committees could be looked at as they didn't do much last year, perhaps. So with the new structure, with specific job titles for every position, each individual applying for a specific position and vying for that specific position and getting elected to it, will be very different than what we've had in previous years. Also, one thing we talk about is that, especially with the state of the world right now, with a lot of the discussions we keep seeing in the news and the political climate, it is not good for DSG to not have a clear presence in the world of environmental sustainability. Because right now, it doesn't matter if it's under programs or administration. No one knows DSG works on environmental sustainability issues. Just looking at, the committee times posters or anything else, really. If they don't bother to like look clearly at each, like every single code or something. So DSG definitely needs to have that presence or that interest be known, because there are a lot of environmental sustainability students at our campus. And again, while maybe the last couple of years may not be the best benchmark, ES has in the past been one of the most active committees, doing a lot of different things. ES, had the Band Bottle Project, and there was a DSG resolution crafted by ES about reusable bottles and water refilling stations. The water refilling stations on campus are there because ES lobbied for those. Reusable water bottles for DeAnza College is part of ES. One thing, this wasn't necessarily ES directly, but one thing that very few people know about now, unless you know the history of the building, but the Kirsch Center also known as the Environmental Studies Building, was built by DASG. Way back when, this would have been measure E, I think it was. So 2 bond measures ago, so right now we're in G, before that was C, and then before that was E. DHG had, a bit of extra funding at that time. And so DHG funded about 200,000 to create the architectural drawings and proposal for the Hearst Center. So DHG built that building. DHG has had a long history of working with environmental sustainability. So, and it needs to continue that. And it really should have its own committee with a chair, vice chair, at least 2, possibly 3 positions, by program coordinator, and then 1 or 2, perhaps say environmentally sustainability coordinators or something of that nature.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Chris?
First off, I want to start by saying thank you, Adrian, for that amazing presentation. It was very informative. And then I have 2 questions. 1, how do the current program senators feel about a change? And 2, are there any current students who are not senators? So for example, interns or prospective interns, are they also willing to fill these positions in? Like, is there an interest as well among students?
Well, I don't know if you want to answer some of those questions first.
Well, yeah, I can answer some. Well, so, I can't speak for like the other senators. I think like the other ones in programs committee should speak for themselves, but I will say, I did like turn down the idea of establishing a new like ES committee this year because I felt like it just didn't seem really, it sounds bad, but I can explain. It didn't seem super necessary at the time because of the way, there's kind of an issue with like delegation, I'll put it this way, of like making sure that interns are like active kind of. So initially I had turned it down and I'm pretty neutral on this, to be honest. Like, I think either way is okay and could work out, but I will say that like, I just was thinking earlier back to like how part of like the reasoning of why I thought we didn't need it initially was because of last year's Senate. But when I was looking through the code and like looking at the structures again, I realized like we have a totally different like way of having the Senate structured. And so like, for example, in like programs last year, it was like, there was the chair, vice chair, and then like senators, but they didn't have any assigned thing, right? Now it's like, we have the events coordinator. So obviously they're coordinating events, flea market, they're dealing with flea market. So it's very like clear what everyone is doing. And then anything extra is like, it's still gonna be related to what like their title is, I guess you could say. So when I was thinking about that, and then like, there is a lot of ES like potential. Maybe there's not a lot of stuff going on right now, but there's a lot of potential. And so like, having a separate committee would be something that makes sense. Just because like the positions would be very defined of like what everyone is doing. So just my opinion was initially no, now it's like, I could see why it's both ways like a good idea. So I don't know if anyone else in programs has any comments or opinions really.
Dennis, did you have a comment?
Well, unless there's anyone else directly related to that. Okay, but two things, I guess. One was about the interns was, part of the thing is with the new structure, interns would apply for the positions they know about, they know the Senate has a finance group. And they, if they're interested in finance, they go there. If they're interested in marketing, graphic design, marketing, social media, and so on, they go to the marketing committee and so on. So, we don't necessarily want random people. Like, if you're interested in being an intern, we have these positions here. Would you maybe want one of these? We don't necessarily want that. We want people who are here because they're interested in, finance or marketing or whatever, applying to just those positions. And then going back to what Christopher mentioned. Yeah, I mean, this is, and I think somebody else had asked about it, and Lydia mentioned, this is flexible. We don't have to do this like right now, but it would be good if we could make a decision today because we do have the elections coming up. And again, whatever you guys decide, but it would be great if you did decide to make it a committee that we could make sure that AES chair is one of the positions on the ballot and application, definitively. Right now, it's tentatively on there as a proposed position that may or may not get added next year. And we want to firm that up, so hopefully that does get approved. We can finalize the exact number of, senators and so on, and work on an ES code. The rest of this quarter and so on, but yeah, it doesn't have to be like, we're gonna add a ES committee today. It can just be, yes, we approve of adding an ES committee till 2024-2025 7 year. And yes, we will, work on getting that chair as part of the elections.
So is there any discussion on what we want to do moving forward? For instance,
I just have a clarifying question.
Yeah.
For Adrian, so ideally you would want a ES committee today, right? Or to like starting tomorrow.
If we could get this approved for next year, that would be good. If we can just get it approved for next year, that would be enough, I think, but I'm not opposed to having it this year. It would just be a little bit harder to make happen.
And then you would want an additional senator that would bike coordinator. Okay,
Yeah. I mean, like I said, if we were to do a new committee, well, if we were to not do a new committee, we still need to add at least a bike coordinator. I thought we were gonna actually add 2 positions, a bike program coordinator and a second ES coordinator. That's what I remember discussing last quarter, but we don't know. And then if it doesn't get made a committee, again, I don't know if programs is the right committee anyway. But if it does get made into a committee, it will be a chair, a vice chair, a bike program coordinator, and then 1 or 2 other positions, ES coordinator. Type positions that would just work on other things related to the committee.
One thing I would like to, which is why I was like initially opposed to it, was that I think it's really important for there to possibly be a liaison in the programs committee, because like as DHGs, we should be reducing I feel like our own waste first and foremost. And I feel like that's not really happening from what I remember it. So with how things are now, it's like I can kind of make recommendations, but unless I was there specifically making the final decision on what happens in events, what purchases are made, it doesn't really do too much whether I'm in programs or not. I mean, I can say let's use less like single-use plastics in our events, right? That doesn't mean that we're actually buying products that aren't packaged plastics. That doesn't mean that, like, that's why I recommended that we do like a sustainability criteria for the DSG as a whole. Then we can look at how we are doing, like how our events are, how our everything is really, and what we can be doing to do better. That way it's more like quantifiable, because at this point, it's like I'm there for the ES updates, and then I can make comments on like recommendations for how events could turn out, but unless I'm ultimately the one buying the things for those events, it doesn't make the biggest difference,
I did.
So I want to ask, like, first of all, like, how is the task delegation currently at ES? So are the interns getting assigned?
We've got like intern projects, we need our like meetings to come together better, but we did have the list here for possible projects for interns, prospective interns. Like, we'd like to have them working on the eco fund, like making it more streamlined. We'd like to have them working on putting together the sustainability criteria. And something really simple that they could do that could be good is to advertise the powers of discount. Like, that's pretty much just putting in my marketing request and talking to people. They can help with the Earth Week, they can help talk to people for facilities, and it's possible that we can get them to help for the recycling and composting projects and pool cover, but those are a little bit more like complex. So we'd like to have them helping with these.
And so currently, it's unable to do that.
Currently, people are doing their like original intern project and then coming to the committee meetings. But one of the issues is that it's just me to delegate them, and there's a lot of things. And I'm a full-time student, and I'm trying to put on my own projects as well. So I'm trying to make sure that my own projects are happening, and then just kind of managing everything else too is a lot to be on the plate at once. That's why I think there should be more people, because if there was a whole committee, like a whole handful of senators, like the chair, vice chair, and then 2 or 3 senators in charge of delegating these projects, it wouldn't be as much. I can have, like, I'm asking people to come and help with the wildflowers project, because that's the main thing that I'm working on right now. But to put, so that's how they can help out here, is coming and helping with the wildflowers project. And starting, we were discussing today with the eco fund. Like, we've got an intern who's interested in doing that, actually filling out the application and potentially applying. So we've got interns who can do those kinds of things, but it's complicated. With just me to, like, it's a long list. With just me to delegate, it's putting extra on my plate that I don't have the capacity for at this moment.
That's it.
Yeah, I think also something I'd add to is like, I feel like also initially, like, kind of what I was thinking was like, okay, what's like the work right now that's happening? Like, how is it being delegated? Whatever, right? Like this kind of mindset, I guess. But I kind of like, when I was thinking again about just like last year's ES committee and like this year's and like what could be, you know, changed, whatever. Like a lot of the stuff related to environmental sustainability is, it takes a little bit more time in the sense that there's more like research that you would need to have and like more active research, I would say, like into just in a general way, like making campus more sustainable. So I feel like for like delegation, right? Like there's like, okay, eco fund, wildflowers, and then like the power cup discount, right? So those are like 3 projects that are current that are like relatively like quick to do. But then larger ES projects, so for example, like something Adrian was mentioning was like working with facilities to get like a pool cover or like recycling and composting bins. That's gonna take more time because you have to talk to more people, like you have to do the research of like what's like cost effective or like what's whatever, right? So I feel like it does make sense to have a separate committee. And I don't think we're doing like, or I think we might, or I guess we are voting on it or something, but I feel like it would make sense to have it as something that would be implemented for next year so that people can like apply for the position. Or for like the chair, vice chair, and then whatever senator positions we end up adding. So I feel like that makes sense to do for next year. Yeah.
Like, I understand that, but it's like, for say, like, if flea market, you know, which is also combined into a new committee, into program, right? Then I'm just saying, you can self-categorize into a lot of things, especially a flea market with who knows what's gonna happen next year too.
Dennis?
You can't look at all the former committees the same way. Each group is, you know, has different requirements and so on. Honestly, there was a lot of discussion about whether there should have been a separate committee to begin with, when it was only added like, maybe 3 years ago. And one ES isn't necessarily make as much sense under programs anyway. A lot of what ES has done in the past and could be doing has been things that, you know, are almost legislative in nature, working with administration, working on policies, working with the facility committee and so on. So even if they weren't its own committee, I'm not sure programs is a better place, but again, it would be better to have a separate committee, again, not just based on this year or last year. You want to think long-term and think of what's possible, but also think about how the Senate looks. Right now, looking at any of the Senate marketing, you don't know DSG works on environmental sustainability issues anywhere on the ballot.
Okay.
And there's no easy way to fix them.
Hey, we are over time by a couple minutes. And I do want to let you know, we have 2 hours worth of business items left. So, is there anyone who wants to move
for more time? And if so, just remember there are 2 hours worth of business items left. Are there any motions?
We table the discussion.
No, please,
We. The budget is next week and we will not be having any like long discussion items for that. And one more thing is that we should be really considering, if possible, this item prior to budget because we need to look at the scholarship funds. If this
and
is
prior
the-
to elections as well. So, you don't necessarily have to move to extend time. If you are comfortable, you can also move to make this committee next year. That's another possible motion, so whatever you guys want to do, but it really should be dealt with today, one way or another. Because when you have budget and elections coming, then it does impact both of those things.
So, yeah, if there's a motion of any action, it can be anything, like you can, if you want, you could table this to after budget. You could add it to EF, even though we didn't really have that discussion yet, or additional time. So,
Can I just ask a quick question?
okay,
Like, what happens to the logistics of it for like, if we make it a new committee, what happens to like the executives? Because that's due like in February.
yeah, so this would be on the form and it would just be added and we would work through the logistics like in this election. Okay, is there a motion? Extend time or table it or do something, Ariana?
I move to approve Senate changes regarding environmental sustainability commission.
For what?
To what?
Committee, make a committee.
So please, yeah, you need to state that please,
For next year.
for next year. Okay.
Okay. Is there a second? Matthew, are there any objections? Isaac?
Object.
What?
I move to extend debate for 5
Can we do that?
Well,
Can we do that after the motion was made?
well, we've already made a second motion to it, taken a,
I think we need to vote now. Yeah, I think we. Okay.
I don't know if you can or not, but I'm just wondering what the difference would be, or if we should just go to the roll call vote and see.
I just want to see like what Isaac's gonna say, like, why is he objecting? Because.
I mean, it sounds like you already said, it's just
I
that,
understand.
the way this normally works is for voting, he doesn't have to say, okay? It's just if there are no objections, it's a quick and easy way to say, okay, it's passed. If anyone objects, it doesn't matter how many people, all they have to say is I object, then we have to actually take a formal vote. I mean, does Isaac, do you have something other than we've already said to say to object to it, or is just what you've already said and now you want us to actually?
I think we'll just go to vote.
Yeah, see, that is just a part of the process.
And also, actually, I wanted to ask you about another thing. I think we didn't cover adding this to the administration committee. Is there-
Yeah, we can't do that because we ran out of time. That's why you needed a motion. If you want to do that, you have to vote no to this and then discuss again and then move again.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
But again, we did kind of touch on that would that really alleviate some of the issues anyway, though?
Okay, yeah, so let's just move on to the voting. If you want to continue discussion, you would vote no, as this is a motion right now to move the EF committee to its own thing for next year. So if you want to talk more about it, you would vote no. If you want to close discussion and make it a new committee next year, you would vote yes. Okay, can you start the roll call vote? Yes. No, okay. Isaac?
No.
Is that yes?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Caitlin?
Yes.
Wait, is that?
So do you know what you're voting for? If you want to make it.
Yeah, make it meeting starting next year.
I said yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Wait, is Joel?
Please be quiet.
Joel is online, okay. Joel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Javier? Javier?
Yeah.
Wait, are you saying yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Javiana? Javiana? Yes. Ian? Ted?
Yes.
Megan? Yes. Benjamin?
Yes.
Virgie?
Yes.
Leandre?
Yes.
Christopher Blue?
I have a quick question if that's okay for, all right, it's just, if we approve this as a committee for next year, can we still add Senate positions this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not necessarily, again, you know, forget it. Yes. Easy answer, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Aaron?
Yeah.
Rita? Yeah. Adrian? Yes. Jonathan? Yes. Jason?
Abstain. Okay, that's technically not a legal option. Normally speaking, yeah, we can, but
Just, can we just have us abstain?
we can. I'm just saying that legal, parliamentary procedures wise, abstentions are really supposed to only be, you didn't know what was going on, you stepped out of the room,
Oh,
missed most of the debate. Yes, you can do it, but it's not considered a proper thing to do unless it's because you just don't know how to vote.
then no,
Wait, no? No. Okay.
no.
Nicholas?
No.
Kate? Yes. Matthew?
Yes.
Is Daniela?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Jennifer? Jennifer? No, we counted. Okay, so. Yes, one. 2 or 20.
20 yes. Thank you. Oh, okay, cool. I already passed it. Okay. All right, so we will work on making it official for next year, you know, during this quarter and so on. And it will be on the application and ballot.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and thank you, Adrian. Okay, moving on to this will be the reading of the budget. We will not be deliberating. This is an information discussion item. We're presenting the allocations for Fund 46 totaling around 68,000 ZZAC and finance.
Okay, hi guys, want to try to make this quick, I know we still got a lot to go over. So I want to run through the budget, kind of just like getting general highlights kind of thing, right? And then if you guys want to have like a closer look at it, you can. But yeah, so I think Nico, why don't you start us off with Fund 46?
Okay, so first of all, the CCC has a student leadership conference.
Why don't you just start off with like the amount, like the total amount we have, then yeah. Yeah.
Total amount for Fund 46 is
It says in the thing.
$68,000, 423. Oh, wait, $68,423.44.
Yeah, and then just so you guys know, this comes from the student rep fee. So there's also kind of like a general trend in that it's been decreasing every year because like students have been like opting out of that, so that's kind of a problem. through, that's something that finance is gonna try to deal with as well. But yeah, that's where the money is coming from. And Fund 46 is the smaller account that where there's like very specific things that we can kind of use it for, and it's usually used for like representation stuff. So things like for students to go to conferences, right? And like advocacy affairs, right? So that's kind of what we can use it for. So it's a much smaller pool as well. So I think Nico, you can kind of go over the stuff. That'd be
So we're gonna go over this program by program, and so we're gonna start off with the CCCSAA Student Leadership Conference. I'm gonna punch this in with the SSCCC General Assemblies. And we gave them both 0. The reasoning for this is that we want to put this money over and use Fund 41. Because as Izat said, we are decreasing in terms of Fund $46. And we are moving this over to Fund 41. Moving on, we're gonna go over Fund 46 variance. At first, we decided to fund the full amount. The Fund 46 variance is basically used for a cushion in case for anything that might be priced a little bit higher than usual, like if shipping, and then there are some things that we haven't thought of, and there's like a few cents extra or $1 extra. We're gonna use that. And after that, we're gonna go over to FA tax internship program. We decided to fund 12,639 because this was based on the amount actual spent on last year's 22-23. Moving on, we're going to for VITA. VITA. We see that VITA is actually working here in the community, as in they're very actually looked upon in this community. That's why we are deciding to fund the full amount of 8,000. After that, we're moving on to PPS, Public Policy School, and we also decided to fund the full amount for that as well. And moving on, we have finally the FACCC Advocacy and Policy Conference. And we decided to fund the full amount for that too. That's it for Fund 41, Fund 46.
Okay, can you pull up the notes for 31? Oh, this is 41 as well.
Okay. They're two separate, but discussion, I mean, there are two separate items on the agenda. So is there any discussion or questions or whatever on recent?
Right, is there any questions or anything about Fund 46? I think I saw Matthew first.
Yes, in terms of what the programs requested in the form, that would be the column 2024-25 request, right?
Yes.
I did, that is not full amount.
Oh.
Sorry, didn't they ask 12,627 and they you approved 8,000?
For which one?
Which account?
VITA.
VITA
I
and
think-
PPS.
Yeah.
Yes, as well, and
Well,
all of them, and yeah, FAPAS.
there just isn't enough.
Well, yeah, but he said full amount.
Oh.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, I see.
No. Wait, and then Dennis, did you have something you want to say?
Well, yeah, I didn't want to, but would you, so that's been clarified now? So it wasn't full amount, correct?
It wasn't, no, at first we funded the full amount, which was 9,135 for. Okay, it's not full amount, we funded 9,135, and after that, we decided to fund 8,122 after reduction.
No, I think after reduction is just, it was originally 9,000 and then. it
Yeah.
became- Yeah.
I guess we should maybe, especially before we start talking about Fund 41, go over the process of it. And how it will also work next week for the Senate. Although Senate's a little different than how it is in finance, but basically, at least as far as the dollar amounts go. So in order to be fair to all accounts, we do not look at how much has been allocated up to this moment and how much is left. We just go through the whole list of accounts. We have a rubric that we use to rank them. And we allocate what, the committee allocate which fields each account should, it's based on, all the different factors. When we get to the very end, then we look at the total that we have allocated so far and how much we are either over or under budget. If we're under budget, once we have a little more available that we can now allocate, more to different accounts. If we're under budget, we then have to go back and make cuts. But until we get to the very end, we do not look at that amount so that we're not, like the earlier accounts, we're like, not even worrying about it, but then the accounts towards the bottom of the list, we're like, oh no, we only have so much left. No, we don't want to do that. We want to treat all accounts fairly. So we try not to look at how much has been allocated to this point and how much is left. When we get to the end, then we see if we're over or under and then make adjustments. So that's what he's referring to. When they went through the first round, yes, they still didn't have enough or didn't decide to allocate it the full time, but it was a little more than the 8,122. When we got to the very bottom of the spreadsheet, we realized we had gone over budget, so we had to make a few cuts here and there to get to a balanced budget. DSG budgets have to be balanced, nothing left over and nothing negative either. So that's the basic process. Senate will be, well, no, it won't be quite the same. Yes, it will be similar in that we won't look at, if we even make changes. The Senate could approve it as is, just the way the finance is done. So that's all possible. But if the Senate does make changes, decide to make changes, we do the same thing to make everything fair. We don't necessarily look at what is or isn't available anymore. We, wait till the end, but the only way that to make changes during the Senate meeting is, again, because everything must be a balanced budget. The only way, if you want to allocate, let's just say, for example, on this Vita. So let's just say, you want to make it 9,000 instead of 8,122. You have to decide first where to cut that 7,088 or whatever, 788 or whatever it is that you need to reach 9,000. So that's what would have to happen at the Senate meeting. If you want to adjust any of the allocations that finance recommends, you will first need to go through a round of cuts. And we'll go through a process of prioritizing those, deciding how much to cut and so on, if anything. And then we'll go through a process of reallocating the money that's been cut. Because again, everything starts with a balanced budget.
And also, I like to keep in mind that even though it says that we have a total of $68,423.44 amount to allocate, actually half of that must equal to Fund 46 of annual revenue. So we can only spend about only half of that. And the difference between the total amount to allocate and the total request that we received for Fund 46 is totaling up to 54,000. So we're gonna have to make a lot of cuts here on 46.
Yeah, that was basically the reason we moved the DASG, the CSAW conference and the SSCCC General Assembly's accounts to Fund 41, because we just would not have had enough. We would have had to cut everything else a lot to fund those, so we moved them to Fund 41. Fund 46 is very restricted in what it can fund, but Fund 41 can fund just about anything, including the types of things Fund 46 funds. So we can use Fund 41 funds to fund advocacy stuff. We just couldn't use Fund 46 funds to fund non-advocacy. I did want to say one other thing I forgot about. Well, first, let me just explain what he was referring to. So the student representation fee is a quote unquote mandatory fee, but students must be given the option to opt out when they register. It's $2 per quarter at all community colleges in California. Half stays at the college and half must go to the state for the SSCCC expenses. So if you were to look at the revenue spreadsheets on the DSG budget webpage, you would notice that for next year, the estimate that's on that revenue spreadsheet is 66,000. That's why on this budget spreadsheet, you go down to the last page. the last item, the CCC outgo. So that's why the last item on this budget is 33,000. So that's exactly half of what we're estimating the revenue. So we had 66,000 on that spreadsheet. So on this spreadsheet, we must put 33,000 for what gets sent to the state. And then the other 33,000 plus whatever was left over from the prior year is what makes up what we have available to allocate for next year. And then about that student representation, this is something we need to work on, and this is especially, so we have, I think we have Vita and DPS here today, correct? Matthew and Daniela. So this is something you guys especially should know about as well, that we could use your help. And we need to start thinking about what we can do about this. We kind of had a discussion a few years ago when this first became an issue, started to become an issue. But a lot of students now, because the law was changed to require that students be given the option to opt out when they register. So they don't even step onto campus yet, and they're being asked, here's this student representation fee, it's, you know, for this kind of stuff, do you want to pay it or not? We are getting a ton of students saying, nah, I don't want to pay it. That's why the revenue for Fund 46 is going down consistently every year. So we need to do some outreach and some marketing about what the student representation fee is for and what it does, and what it is, you know, can be used for and how it helps students. To try to get them at least their second quarter here and beyond to say yes to paying the fee. Because most likely by the time we get to them, they've already said one, no, at least once. So yeah, so that's one thing we really need to think about and start doing. You know, the marketing committee, the finance committee, and you know, the other student advocacy groups on campus, like PPS and VIA and so on. So I got an email from Lisa as of December 31st, and this doesn't even cover all of winter quarter registrations. For this year, we've had $10,816 worth of opting out so far.
Hey, yeah, thank you, Dennis. Isaac, for you.
I just wanna, emphasize like marketing. I think it would be very important, yeah.
Okay. And one thing is, if you guys have ideas of what we should be putting out there, right now, the only information we have on the DeAndre website, and I think what those do pretty much, is just a little bit that's really on the cashier page about what the student fees are. So I think one of the things we need to do is create an SRF webpage on the DSG website and go into more detail and how it has helped students and things like that. And, you know, define the student rep fee and so on. So that's one thing to definitely do, was create a better page with more information about what the fee is.
Yeah, okay. That is a conversation that we should have, but another time. So with regards to Fund 46 and what we allocated for, are there any questions? So you guys have time again to kind of look over this, because this is just an information discussion item. Next week, we'll be voting on actually approving it. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I will say with Fund 46, because it's such a restricted fund and the amount as well as quite little compared to 41, there probably wouldn't be too much to, like, if you could say like, oh, let's move like 2,000 from here to here, but it's like that probably won't really do much. You're really better off moving things around at 41. So that is something to consider.
And one thing that came up during, I think it actually, didn't it come up last week, Senate meeting? Yeah, it did. And again, one thing to remember is that, again, you know, Fund 46 funds are very restricted, Fund 41 are not. So, you know, we can't use any Fund 46 funds for something that is not advocacy or whatever related. But we could use Fund 41 funds for anything, including advocacy stuff. So, you know, even if Fund 46 runs out of funds next year, you know, we could still get like special allocations or whatever and use it in Fund 41 for these types of activities still. But ideally, we do need to work to make 146 stronger and healthier.
Right, if there are no questions, could we move on to the next one? Okay, yeah. Okay. All right, so moving on. 2024-2025 DHG Budget Fund 41, DHG General Fund. This item is to present the allocations for the 2024-2025 DHG budget for Fund 41, totaling $1,557,751.12. Dennis?
Before we get started, I just want to say one thing, and this was something we, worked on making clear for the finance committee. It's 1.5 million, about, right? 1.5
Yes.
something million next year. We are still kind of in a post-pandemic recovery phase. For those of you that have been, looking at the past budgets, the DHG budget has been around, 1.0 to 1.2 million consistently for quite a few years. Next year, if there had been no pandemic, would have been about the same. It's just that because of the COVID relief funding and things like that, and then the flea market was shut down and we didn't even have to pay for a coordinator, all sorts of things like that. We have a huge amount of extra funds this year. That's why we were able to add back 100,000 to the reserves to make it 500,000 again, which is what it usually is. So yes, there's $1.5 billion available to allocate next year. But one thing we emphasize to finance and want to make sure you understand as well is that doesn't mean it's going to be like that, continuing on. It will probably still be another 2 or 3 years before things stabilize. But eventually they will stabilize and we're not going to have that much unless other things change. So we made sure that the finance committee did not approve ongoing funds for anything, adding a brand new position of some sort or a bunch of positions, in a new program or something. And then, 2 years from now, we're gonna have to cut it because we don't have that much again. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Yes, it's 1.5 million available for next year. And we'll probably still be a couple years before, stabilizes on what it is. But that doesn't mean we should, spend all that 1.5 million as if it's, free money and never gonna go away. So.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dennis. That is something that I did also want to clarify. So thank you for doing that. I guess we can kind of get started. So the way Fund 41 is divided, I guess it's kind of divided to two main sections, I guess, and that's DASG operational funds. So these are the funds that support DASG, and then the other ones are going to be things that other programs, external programs outside of DASG request from us, and then we give to them. So those are the two main funds that we're going to go over. I'll try to kind of skim through it, but at the same time, I kind of want to highlight and use certain programs as hey, we funded these kind of programs, we fund these kind of programs, this amount, for example, and then here's one of them. So I'll kind of use some of them as examples as we go through. But yeah, we're gonna go through operational first. Yeah, so I will say that this year, as Dennis mentioned, it's a little bit different. Our budget is a little bit bigger than usual. And I think that's kind of reflected in our funding, really across the board. But I think you'll notice it as well in our operational funds. So because we have a lot more money to work with, yes, we're not just gonna use all of it, but we also considered kind of funding our own operational costs a bit more. There's some conversation to maybe even not doing, looking at our operational costs and kind of just this is something that should not be, I think Hanju talks about it quite a bit, and this is something that we might not have to deliberate every single year, because this is something that DASG kind of we need this stuff, right, in order to even operate. And I think it'll become obvious as I go through some of the items that we are funding here. So DASG, okay. So there's the student leadership recognition gala, right? That's, how much is it? Oh, yeah, finance recommended $5,000, right? Then DASG ICC mentors leader scholarships. So this is the money that you guys are getting paid. We allocated a total of $93,900. Student leadership training was allocated $22,500. And I think you can also see so this column over here is what finance actually approved or recommended. This is the amount, the column right next to it to the left. To the left is what was requested. And then you can see as well, this was the budget. The column right after that, like before that, is going to be the budget of this current year. So those are the three main ones I think that kind of look at. So this is not approved yet, right? So that's all zero. So this is finance recommended. So this is what we decided, or what we recommended. This is what was requested. And then this was our budget currently this year. So how much we currently have to work with around, right? So that's how to read that, I guess. And then there's the additional information as well, but I won't get too deep into that right now. Then we have DSG Senate and committee operations. So that's 18,000. So we just recommended the full amount from the request. The current year we have 15,000, so it's just 15,000 to 18,000. DSG secretary. So that's, that was the student payroll position, so it's zero now. And then, okay, we don't have this anymore. So this is the committee accounts, but we don't use that anymore because we have it all in one account now.
Yeah, for those of you that weren't here last year, aren't in the exec committee. There used to be individual committee accounts, at least for most of the committees, so some didn't even get used because they didn't really need them. But because of, part of what I just said, that you didn't really need it. A lot of committee money got unused, or some committees would run out, there'd be left over in other committees. And it would be complicated, and we have to do budget transfers and all sorts of things. So last year, the finance committee and the Senate, we thought about it, and we're like, why are we doing this? It's just for our own internal stuff. Let's just do one account. We set up a budget at the beginning of the year, like the beginning of fall or summer, when we're all here and know what we're hoping to do this year. Or that year. Makes it easier. And that way we don't have money wasted and we don't have committees running out of money and so on. So yeah, they merged pretty much all the committee accounts and some of the other DASG, what is it called? DASG Senate and Committee Operations. Is that the name of the account?
I'm trying to look for it.
Something like that.
It is something like that. Senate, is it? It's just Senate and committee operations, I think.
Yeah, so DSG Senate and committee operations. So yes, it was all the committee accounts merged together, plus like DSG office supplies and some of those other general accounts. All of that was just merged together in one big account that the executive committee could divvy up. And it's actually in the finance code, I believe, for the vice chair of finance to help maintain a spreadsheet of keeping track of all that. So it just makes a lot more sense, makes things easier for all the committees, and just budgeting, so we don't run out of money, but also don't end up with money just sitting there not getting used.
Yep, so this 18,000 represents the money that the DSG committees have to work with for next year, right? This year we have 15,000. And then, that's gonna be handled by the vice chair of finance, kind of just like keeping track of everything. So instead of having it all spread across like different accounts, it's just all in one account, and then the chairs can kind of like collaborate and kind of talk about like, oh yeah, marketing needs this much, programs need this much, and it's just easier to do to work with. So that's why that's 18,000, everything else is zero. And I think that's it. And then we have the Seesaw and SSCCC conferences here, right? They were zero in the 146, and then now they're here. So full amount from both. Any questions for this block? So that totals to 159,000 or 159,000.
It's different in the Excel
Sorry?
than the PDF. When I look on the PDF, it looks good.
Which,
I'm on the Excel for the Seesaw. That one, oh, never mind, sorry.
Okay, there are no questions. I think we can move on to DASG, oh, yeah, the DASG support costs. Okay. Or, yeah, here. So, okay, that was the DSG operational.
That's the issue government.
Oh, government, yeah.
So operational is actually made up of four sections: government support, ICC programs, and DSG programs and services.
Yeah, okay, I was gonna open up the whole like classification thing, but yeah, okay, thanks, Dennis. So, okay, now we're moving on to DSG support costs, all right. So I guess the first thing would be classified payroll. So this is classified payroll for Martin, Rella, and Lisa Kirk. This is basically just the accounting office.
No, it's
Sorry, it's just for Jennifer.
So the first account here, accounts office staff, is the funding for the student accounts office. 100% of the accounting assistant, so that's Jennifer and Wen, and I think 40% of the accountant, that's Lisa Kirk.
Right.
And then I think they have, and then there is some student payroll available as well. They haven't done that for a few years because of the pandemic and such. But if approved, hopefully they'll have a student assistant again. And yeah, so.
Yeah, so this is kind of the accounting infrastructure for DSG. If we don't pay for this, we can't really like do accounting stuff. So we kind of need it, right? And this is kind of, and you guys are gonna see that this is kind of a common trend, and especially once we get into the DSG support costs, a lot of these costs are kind of like, hey, if we don't fund this position, we don't exist. So, you know, that's just something to consider. And then we have, so classified payroll, that's $261,800. Then you have just like office supplies. That's just full. The request and the recommendation is in full. Then bank and credit card fees.
You missed.
Did I miss the account
system?
Account office system. That's basically the software to do the accounting stuff. So up here, we're basically paying for, this is like for the accountants. And then if you don't have an accounting system, then the accountants don't really have anything to work with to do accounting. So we kind of need to pay that in full as well. Okay, and then bank credit card fees, that's just the fees like for you to use when like you have to use a credit card, there's like fees associated with that, right? So that's that. Copy machine, that's $0 because we don't use that. Then college life office staff. So as you can see, this is pretty big, $351,000, I guess. So this covers, I believe,
right now, this covers 25% of one of the student activity coordinator positions, that's me. 100% of the other student activities coordinator position, that's Maritza, but hopefully that will get approved by College Council and President Holmes, and we won't get that anymore. So we can cut that amount now. 100% of the administrative assistance position, that's Malia. And then student assistants in the office of college law. So that's all the students that help students and DSG and ICT and clubs and so on with everything they do.
Yeah,
but hopefully we'll be able to reduce this because hopefully College Council and President Holmes will approve what we're recommended.
Right, yeah. So hopefully we don't this could go down by like 100.
Yeah, 160. I'm not sure I'm saying we're asking about that. I can tell you the exact name.
All right.
Go on.
Yeah, okay. So so those are for college life office staff. Are there any questions up until this point regarding the allocation so far? And then I guess I could just go over, there's just some additional fees like uncollectible return check fees, and then variance, which Nico also kind of talked about a little bit in Fund 46. And so that totals up to $625,000. No, any questions regarding that? All right, seems pretty good so far. Then we're moving on to DASG ICC programs and services. So this is, okay, so this is like funding for ICC. Hi, Joel, I know you're over there on the other side. Dennis?
Yeah, so if College Council and President Holmes approve the college again funding the other student activities coordinator position, we'll be able to cut $139,730 out of the college rec staff.
That is awesome. Thanks, Dennis. All right, so moving on to DASG ICC programs and services. So for ICC, you can just, I guess we could just look at like the total amount here is like 12,000. I mean, this is for supplies, promotional items, food and refreshments, right? That tallies up to 12,000. Then you have the student clubs. So ICC is like awards, allocation for new clubs, and then special allocations for clubs. And that's 8,000, 2,000, 5,000, totals up to 15,000. So in total, ICC would have 27,000. Right. So that's 12,000 for ICC's like annual events and stuff. And then you have 15,000 for the money that they can allocate for clubs. Essentially, is how this is looking. Okay, are there any questions to that? So then ICC overall in total is 27,000. All good? Okay. Moving on, DASG programs and services. So this is, okay. So this is the programs and services offered by DASG. Okay, so movie tickets, I know Lisa's like explained this like a lot, so I'll try to save her the trouble if I can do this right the first time around. So basically, DASG bought movie tickets a long time ago. We bought them in bulk. They used to sell out really fast. But then one day, or like, you know, eventually with streaming services and stuff like that, people kind of stopped going, like, you know, going to the movies as much. And so we have like a stack of movie tickets. People aren't buying them. And so now they're just kind of like sitting there, and we still need to represent them like in like the accounting system, like, oh, hey, you know, they exist, they're there. So we just carry it forward, and that's why they're, you know.
Yeah. So this 8,100, you notice, if you scroll over just a little bit, you can see the Senate approved column. I've already pre-filled it in. This amount really doesn't do anything. You can delete it, but it won't change anything. You won't have 8,100 allocate to someone else. This is basically just an accounting thing. We have to report it. This was already spent a while ago, and until we completely set out all the tickets, we just have to keep putting what's left on each spreadsheet until it's gone.
Yes, by the way, highly recommend it. If you're going to a movie theater, you should buy it.
Well, I just want to say it's a wash, because on the revenue side, you have the sale of the tickets. So the revenue and expense wash out. They're the same each you know, it equals one another. Okay, so if you look on the revenue spreadsheet, you see that, okay?
And
I have a question. So how many fiscal years has these have the movie tickets been carrying forward for?
Since before the pandemic. So, and since how many years? A couple years before the pandemic was the last time we bought them, probably.
Oh,
Lisa?
I'd have to go back and look in the records. Yeah, it's been a long time, but they used to be very popular. We used to have long lines of students
Just
waiting
sell
to
tons
buy.
every year and have to buy more.
Yeah.
But, you know, it stopped being a big thing. So we're probably not gonna buy them again after we run.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
Wouldn't it be better, and then also we could increase our funding, like, sorry, I'm trying to say that, what if we sell these movie tickets externally so that we could write them off at the end of this financial year?
No. Can I just
don't think-
interrupt though? It's a service for students. That is a it's for students who've paid their student body fee. That $10 that students pay is an optional fee every quarter. So what are they getting for that, right? There are still students who buy it. If you look at Dennis, maybe you can pull up I included last year's actual ticket sales on the application, right? With the with the budget request. So it's not like no one's buying them.
Okay, all right, moving on then, we have the DASG bike program. So there was a request for $27,000. We approved and we recommended $10,000. The reason for that discrepancy, wait, Dennis, do you wanna maybe talk a little bit about that?
Oh, well, you might remember, I think it was last week, right? Yeah, so last week, and, we first started talking about it last quarter, was the new bikes to replace the current and pretty much no longer usable DSG bikes that are like 10 years old. So, when I submitted the budget request, that was back in November is when they were due. I included the amount for that too, just in case. But we have plenty of special allocations this year and really, I don't know if the bikes will still be around next year anyway. So, yeah, that already got allocated this year, so, they were allocating the zero next year for the new one.
Yep, okay, yeah, so that's that, all right. And now moving into DSG card production, so just to make these things, right? We approved the full amount for that. And then DASG scholarships, okay, so there's a little bit of kind of confusion because we use the term scholarships to also talk about the amount that senators and ICC people get paid, and I guess mentors next year get paid for, which technically are called scholarships. But when we're talking about these scholarships, these are the scholarships that, so DASG also offers scholarships for other people, like for the student body, right?
General student scholarships,
yeah.
DSG senator or whatever.
Yeah, so basically what we did was, it was about $5,500 in total. I believe there were two merit-based, what was it? Two need-based, two merit-based, was it?
Oh, I forgot to update that.
Or just two general ones?
Yeah, the 24-25 request column, I forgot to update that, should also equal the recommendation column. There's no actual request, it's one of the internal DSG accounts. But yeah, so this year, there's 5 scholarships total from DSG. One $800 DSG Sylvia Chiliston Memorial Scholarship. She was a senator, or I think internet, actually, on the finance committee, who got killed in a car accident while still here. So she created a memorial scholarship for her, for students to apply. Then there are 4 other scholarships that are $500 each, that are more general, that are kind of merit-based, but there are 2 of them are for any students, and 2 of them are set aside for students with financial need. But the thing is, these amounts have not increased in so very long, and DSG used to get a lot more general student scholarships at one time, so why it hasn't come up before, I don't know, but basically we discussed and at least are recommending, Senate still has to approve it, but we're recommending increasing the both the scholarship units and the number of scholarships. So there would still be the 1 memorial scholarship, but it would be 2,000. And then there would be 10 total scholarships of the other kind, 5 for students with financial need and 5 for any students, and those would be 1,000 each. So
Yeah.
then that's the current recommendation, Senate will still have to discuss and approve them.
Yeah, so for the most part, we looked at the scholarships, we doubled their amounts, and then for the general scholarships, so the non-memorial ones, we also increased the amount that we offer, the amount of scholarships we offer. So that's what we did, and so it went from 5,000. Oh, wait, this is the request.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
oh,
that's
so it went
correct,
from-
say 12,000.
Right, so then it went from 2,800, so that's the current amount that we have, up to 12,000 now in total. So there's that. Then there's the DASG flea market. The DASG flea market is the only way that DASG well, it's the way that it's one of the main ways that we get revenue. The only ways really that we generate revenue. And so, yeah, there was a request for 280,000. We gave 277,000 really. So it's like almost the same, just like little adjustments here and there. So, yeah, flea market gets mostly what they asked for. then, you guys want to be a lawyer? We offer services, so this is part of like the services that like, when students pay like their fees, kind of like, okay, wait, what am I really doing this for? It's like, what do I get out of it, right? This is one of the like services that we offer, so legal advice. So you guys can go get legal advice for free, courtesy of, well, from this, right? So,
DSG, yeah.
yeah, essentially. So,
And the reason for the discrepancy is, current amount and next year's amount and so on is like, during the pandemic and so on, we just haven't had it. And so we're slowly trying to build it back up to where it once was. We've got a new lawyer, and things seem to be going much better than they were. And the new lawyer is willing to meet with students over Zoom and stuff. The lawyer we had before was like around for 40 years. So yeah, the program seems to be doing quite well. We're getting lots of students interested. And, basically it's just one of the ways DASG helps students directly with a service of some kind.
Right. And then the next thing is the mascot program. So you guys know we have a mascot now. I believe, did President only cover the costs for the mascot for this year?
Well, he covered the cost. So this would be the operational costs ongoing.
Okay, yeah.
Cleaning the costume, things like that, maintenance.
Yeah.
And then, paying for a student. And rather than paying an hourly rate, we're hoping to be able to just do a per event rate. And we have to have a minimum of 2 students, although we'll probably have, 4 students per event, depending on the length of the event. Because you have to have a person in the costume and then a person who's guiding them and making sure, they don't trip on something and so on. You can't really see too well out of the costume.
Yeah, so for the mascot program, we decided to fund just like as Dennis said, kind of the operational costs. There were requests for other stuff like promotional items, food, refreshments, domestic conference and travel. But like we thought that it would be okay to fund just like the operational costs, but these other costs kind of just seemed like extra stuff. So that's why we just funded it in zero. But we did fund so like this here, yeah. But then like these other costs, just to maintain the costume, as Dennis said, things like that, and then paying the students, we decided would be okay. And so that is why it's $6,275. So yeah, so total DASG programs and services is 346,000. Total DASG and ICC programs and services is 373,000. And total DASG operational, so far this is everything, including the committee operations to support costs and everything, is $1,157,000. So are there any, yes?
I was wondering where the money that goes to the DSG scholarships for senators for their work comes from.
So
that was one of the accounts in the government costs.
Yeah, so that was in like up all the way up here, I believe, where's the.
Yeah,
it's like all the way up here.
From the DSG, budget under government costs.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, so that's $93,900 as shown here. Yes, are there any questions so far? Besides that one, thank you.
And also for that one, just to clarify, in case it wasn't mentioned earlier, it's again proposed next year to be DHT, ICC, and mentors.
Okay, so, oh yes, Maritza?
Yeah, I just, I might have stepped out when you were explaining, but I see that the seesaw funding for that is listed with the same amount in both Fund 46 and Fund 41. Can you, again, I'm sorry if you explained already, but can you explain that?
Yes. Yeah, the request is the same amount. It's just that we know Fund 46 revenue is going down. I don't know if you heard that part, and we need to work to improve that. It's just going to be difficult for students, even before they step on campus or being asked, do you want to pay this or not, without knowing what it's for. So, the request is listed on both spreadsheets, both budget requests. And Fund 46 dollars are very restricted and can only be used for certain things, for advocacy and such. Fund 41 can be used for anything, including advocacy things. So, because there just isn't enough money in Fund 46, we didn't fund it there, but we did fund it under Fund 41.
Okay, no, thank you, that's helpful.
Joel has his hand up.
Yes, Joel.
Hello. I was just wondering why the ICC scholarship was removed.
So it's under for various reasons, it's better. So if you look under government costs, in the first section, under DSG government costs, you'll notice that the DASG Student Leader Scholarship account is now listed as the DASG ICC and Mentors Student Leader Scholarship account. It's all in that account. So it did get funded, just not under ICC.
Yeah, Joel, we don't hate you, we just moved to where we're paying you from to this account instead of a separate account, so that's that.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I actually had a follow-up question. Then if it's under this account, would it be divided in the same way, or how is the division for the $93,900?
It's the same amounts you guys requested. It's just the funding is housed in a different place. But it's exactly what was, on the request, just the same dollar amounts and so on that was proposed for next year. And
Okay, got it.
all
Thank you.
spelled out in the scholarship code and so on.
Got it.
Yeah. So any other questions before we move on to external programs? No, okay. So now we're gonna talk about the okay, yeah, external programs. So earlier that was either costs to for DSG operations or programs held by DSG or ITT by extension. Now we're kind of moving on to the external programs on campus that requested money from DSG. So how do we do this? All right. So a lot of these programs are kind of like similar. I'll try to get through because I believe there's like 30-ish programs. So let's try to get through this. So the first one is just college life programming. So that's essentially just program, like it's the events held by Office of College Life for the most part, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of an odd one, and ideally we wouldn't have it, but our office is supposed to be doing, college life on campus, events and so on. Different colleges might have slightly different titles. It could be the student activities office, campus events, campus life, college life, and so on. But, even though we're coming off college life, we actually don't get any funding from the college for doing that. So at least for now, we're trying to get funding from DSG at least to hopefully put on different events. Whether it's, for students, could be entertainment, could be leadership development opportunities, could be all sorts of different things. But that's what this account would be used for. And perhaps one or Maritza could maybe give a little more detail on the types of things we might use them for. That's basically it.
Can you highlight which one you're talking about?
College life programming. So this, yeah.
You mean just all of it?
Just kind of like a brief like overview on like what it is a little bit. I think that's it. I think Dennis already provided kind of a nice summary, but if there's anything to add on.
If you had anything to add,
Yeah.
I already, basically explained.
Yeah, no, sure.
What
I believe Hanju submitted this, but this kind of comes from the fact that typically offices of college life are doing a lot like larger scale events, in terms of orienting students on campus, welcoming students on campus, campus life, guest speakers, more kinds of offerings, activities, food, things like that with either welcome day or with IDs. And our office has virtually no budget for a lot of that. So in the past, we used to have a larger budget for those things and it got cut. And it's just kind of about trying to bring more of that, because for many years, we've been focused on putting out programming in DSG and ICC to do those things, but technically, those are things that our office historically has done and wants to continue doing. So like as far as the professional services and supplies, printing, promotional items, it's things that would allow us to do that kind of large scale campus-wide programming. Does that help?
Yeah, thanks, Vincent. So does anyone, oh, actually, you know what I'm gonna do is I think I'll just go over the recommendations for, Dennis, you wanna say something?
We'll finish.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I'll go through the recommendations for like the programs. If there are any programs that I feel like I kind of want to dig a little bit more into, I'll kind of justify it a little bit more. But then otherwise, if you guys have any questions, just raise your hands up and then I'll try to just, list out the recommendations. So Dennis?
Yeah, so that's a good idea. And in the past, what a lot of the finance chairs have done is kind of done one page at a time. So just basically do what you're doing or what you just suggested to do. And then maybe, at the end of each page, say, okay, any questions on what's on this page? And then, and then go on to the next page after the questions and discussion for that page are done.
Right.
That way it just helps break it down easier.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Okay, so art on campus, no requests. So that's 0, the Euphrates Museum of Art. We gave them just a small program on campus. They asked for 8,000, we give them the full amount. Foster Youth Services didn't request anything. Women Gender Sexuality Center did not request anything. Guided Pathways requested $36,000, and we gave them 1,000. So okay, maybe this one I can kind of elaborate a little bit more. Guided Pathways, so you guys know like the villages and stuff, right? And it's like, how it's something that's like the campus, DeAnza has like made a big investment on opening all the villages, right? Doing all of these things. And so it's like, okay, they're opening all of these villages, but then they come to DSG and they're like asking us to like help staff it and stuff. And it's just like, if the college sees, the Guided Pathways program as really important, we feel like, hey, fund your program, right? So it's like, we don't mind as DSG kind of helping out and kind of like, giving funds to help the program out a bit, but we feel like personally, $36,000, right, for like student payroll, we felt like that the college really should be investing more into it if they feel like that's an important program for them, right? So yeah, that's why we gave 1,000 for food and refreshments, if that makes it any better. But that's the rationale kind of behind that. All right, then moving on, Office of Equity, Social Justice, Multicultural Education, they asked for $127,000. We gave 26,000. I think that was split between payroll, mostly between payroll, food and refreshments, technical professional services. HEFAS asked for 31,000. We gave 20,000. And then homecoming events. Oh yeah, so homecoming asked for basic, like if you guys remember, how many of you guys attended homecoming? Yeah, so homecoming now has its own like account, and so this is like for next year. So next year homecoming, they asked for $15,000 for the program, and we gave $15,000. For those of you guys who don't know, DASG out of special allocations earlier this year funded 10,000. President Holmes matched it, so technically the amount that they had in total was about 20,000. So they asked for 15,000, and we gave them 15,000. Next.
Just in case, so Office of Equity, it's not very clear just looking at this. A lot of that is to support the different kinds of multicultural programming that goes on campus. That basically DASG helps fund speakers and performers and so on for Black History Month, Women's History Month, all those types of events. Although our Office of Equity likes to do that kind of thing year round, not just during a month only. So basically it's to support all that type of programming on the DSG.
Thank you, Dennis. And then, oh yeah, honor program also asked us for $7,300-ish, and we gave about $5,787. So that's mostly for, oh, so they're asking for money for student payroll and I think also for a conference as well, but we just gave them enough money. Well, yeah, we gave them money for student payroll. And then, yeah. Impact AAPI. Can you describe what they do? I think you interviewed them, right? Well, I think
If you want, go to the DASG College website
oh,
and then
this one.
search for learning communities. You'll actually find a number of these different
Oh, actually,
accounts on there.
That's
And
great.
then you can see like impact and lead and so on. So many of the different programs are on there. So if you want to just keep that page open so you can click on their website. if
Right.
you need to.
Actually, yeah. So
yeah, impact-
in the end, there's like these learning communities, right? I think some of you guys here are in it, like I believe there's like the link program, there's the honors program, and then there's also like Impact AAPI lead, and these are learning programs, but more specifically for like people of how do I describe it as? Like
learning communities.
No, I mean like specifically for like Impact API, I think Umoja, they kind of fall under like cultural
or ethnic groups.
Yeah, cultural or ethnic groups, right, to kind of support specific groups. So these programs are very, very similar. And so the way we kind of evaluated them as well is, there it is also kind of similar as well, as you guys can see. So as we go through all these learning communities, I think that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, so Impact API specifically is for South Asian or Asian Pacific Islander heritage. And so they asked for $22,000, mostly in payroll and a little bit for conferences. That seems to be the general trend for most of the learning communities, and we gave them $16,000. So that's $10,000 for student payroll, and then the full amount for domestic conference and travel. Lavos, the newspaper read, they asked for 27,000. We gave them 9,000. So they asked for a payroll. We didn't allocate any for that. But we did allocate funds for printing, which last year we didn't. And then also for technical professional services and also some money for conferences as well. So that's 9,000. The LEAD program, so another learning community, right? But this one for a Latinx culture, right? Yeah, Latinx empowerment at Nianza. Well, it's the wrong one. Yeah, here we go. So they asked for 36,000, we gave 9,000, so it's almost 10,000. So it's like similar to Impact AAPI, right? It's like around that ballpark of how much they get. So it's like similar deal, student payroll along with technical professional services for any like events that they would like to hold. Library textbook on reserve collection, they did not request anything. MPSP or Mass Performance Success Program. So they have asked for $78,000. We give them $8,000. Okay, so this is one of the programs that we kind of have to question as a committee, is this something that's essential or not? And there's that whole big conversation that we have as just not just in finance, but really in DASG, should we be funding essential programs? And the answer to that last year was no, and that's kind of like what we're bringing forward as well. So historically, what we've been doing for a lot of like essential services, like tutoring services, for example, is that we've just been decreasing the amount that we've been funding them. So as you can see, there's from this to this, and that's just been the case, and that's what we've been doing. So Math Performance Success Program is a bit special. I guess they're not general tutoring, but they're tutoring. I believe it's like for students that have a history of not doing so well in math, and so they're kind of like a little bit more specialized in that sense. But yeah, so that's why we funded them a little bit. The reason why we're still funding them instead of just cutting it to zero is just because we have had a history of funding them, so we didn't want to just like pull the rug under them, but we're kind of like letting them know like, hey, we're gonna fund you like less and less every year, and so they should kind of try to find a new funding source from there. Okay. Mentors at Dianza asked for $13,500. We give them $6,600. The difference in that mainly, the scholarships would move from here to the other account, right, Dennis? For mentors.
Oh, mentor, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I think that's basically full amount. Yeah, that's basically full amount outside of the scholarships, which is just handled in a different account. So there's that. Outreach, okay, that's 0. Pride Center. So Pride Center asked for 25,000. We gave 11,000. So we partially paid for student payroll. And then also, we also gave some money for technical professional services, food and refreshment. Puente Project, another learning community. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, so another learning community. And how much did we give? So we they requested for 25,000. We recommended 8,000. So again, they asked for student payroll. We partially covered that. And then also printing, and yeah, that's about it. Umoja, another learning community. This one ended for African American ancestry, student programs. So they asked for 47,000. We gave 12,000. So we give around like a ballpark of 8,000 to 15,000 for a lot of these learning communities. Like it's learning community by learning community. We look at the requests and we kind of evaluate. But that seems to be the amount that we've been the range that we're kind of giving. So we partially cover payroll again, and then also for technical and professional services for like events that they want to. Student computer donation program. I don't know if you guys know, but there's a student computer donation program. It's exactly how it sounds. Nico, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I know you were part of that program.
Contact.
Yeah, basically.
So basically just student interns can go there at certain times, and basically the college gives you like broken laptops and you fix them together and you give them back to students for free. So like if you see people walking around with like old laptops with numbers on them, it comes from Contact.
Yeah, so that's about that. Dennis, you had your hand up. You want to assist?
Yeah, so I just wanted to just give a little, so it helps students in 2 ways. It helps students in the Comtech program learn about that kind of thing, get some job skills. But then it also helps students in need get computers who otherwise wouldn't be able to. It's helped a lot of students over the years, including some of our DASG senators and other student leaders. I remember one year, the student trustee had her laptop stolen and got a free replacement from the program.
Yeah. So they just asked money for some computer parts and we're like, yeah, here's the full amount. So pretty solid program. Next textbook program, this is a request of 0, so we just gave 0. Okay, this again, textbook program again, requested 0. Tutorial and academic skills center. So this is a very interesting one. This was a very hot topic last year. So basically, so as you can see, historically, they asked DASG for a lot of money, and then historically DASG have been trying to fund them less because we feel like, hey, the college should be funding their own tutoring services. That's kind of like a need and like an essential thing. And the college finally did, I guess. So tutoring services, I believe, across 5 years, starting this year, are getting $200,000 each year. Yeah, so it's like $1 million across 5, was it 4 or 5 years? 5 years. 5 years, right. Yeah, so they're not asking DSG for money for tutors anymore because now they have that. So that's great. That's awesome. I believe they asked us for student payroll, but this time it's not for tutoring, it's for like an administrative assistant. So I don't know if you guys ever been to the tutoring center, but usually it's like there's someone that's kind of at the desk, greets you and like tells you to like check in and then just like moves students from like the Zoom room, right? Yeah, and just kind of like handles like the online like Zoom room portioning of that all. So they just want someone for that.
And honestly, they don't need it for this. So
Yeah. Also, actually, I think they mentioned something about how they can market or social media.
Yeah.
To get more students, to make more students aware of the tutoring services, but again, it was discussed in finance and I think exec too, right, about how really DSG can support that anyway, and it's kind of one of the things student rights and equity does, the research fair and all those kinds of things, and our own marketing, and we can just help if they need a few social media posts and such every, once in a while, to be cheap and help with that, they just need to provide us thing.
Yeah, so for that reason, we funded it to see. So yeah. Next is a veterans program. So they asked for 7,000, we gave 1,500. So that was just we just feel less supplies and then zero for printing, then that's about it. Dang. Okay then. Okay, so for total campus events and services, that's $196,000. Right, so that's a huge block. Any questions there? No questions? Everyone's cool with that? Okay. Moving on, what is this? Divisional support, okay.
There's a
Oh,
question
oh,
online.
okay, someone has a question. And Alosa.
Yeah, I read in chats. It wasn't addressed, so will DSG still be running ads through Levos, or is that like included in the print budget? Because I know in the past that y'all have run ads with us.
Sorry, can you repeat that actually?
I know.
Oh, chat, right.
I know DSG was like running ads with Levos in like events or like for certain things coming up. Is that included in the print budget, or are you still like separately running ads through us to like reach students for like things like elections or with like information?
Well, I think he's referring to a stipulation, a budget stipulation that we haven't discussed yet. But yeah, historically, that's just been part of, DHG helps fund Levos and what Levos, and DHG, it's kind of a weird, tricky thing because of, First Amendment and so on. So the government isn't actually funding the newspaper. They're funding the ability for general students to access the newspaper. But at least historically, when there was a print edition, Lobos would provide about half page, a quarter to a half page of space that DHG and ICC could use for promoting, events and meetings and so on.
Yeah, so does that answer your question? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, then moving on to, wait, this is right. Oh, no, this is not. Period. Right, okay, so for divisional support, athletics asked us for $65,000 so this is just their athletic away game, so they're just asking for, I believe it was travel or the meals and food, but they asked for $65,000, we gave 10,000. Marine biology asked for $2,400. This is for a field trip, and then we gave the full amount for that. Then adapted. Oh, this is the requested zero. Okay, so we can skip this. Then Red Wheelbarrow Literary Magazine asked $1,000 for printing to print their magazine. So we gave full amount for that. Cross cultural partnerships asked for. What the ration for this?
Yeah.
So they asked for $13,000. We gave zero.
Because historically, they never use the money.
Oh, okay, yeah, because historically they didn't really use the money. So that's
No, I don't think that was the only reason, because that was just a one-year thing.
Oh,
Because their previous coordinator retired and such, and they don't even have an account this year because I don't even remember if they submitted one last year or the year before, but last year for this year. So it's been kind of a period of transition for them. So I think it's just they didn't use it that year. I think they did have a discussion. I mean, I know at the very least, the 700 technical professional, there's a clear reason to not put them down. But then the rest, it's specific.
all right. Okay, you can add that to the notes, I guess. Okay, yeah, so then total divisional support is 13,400. Gonna assume there are no questions for that one. That's pretty straightforward. Okay, now we're kind of getting into the last section. So allocations. So special allocations, the request, well, we basically gave $190,643 for special allocations. The reason, so basically the way we kind of did special allocations was we were going through the budget, and typically what happened, and like we were just setting the recommendations, and typically what happens is that we go over budget, but this time we actually went under budget, and we had like, I believe, was it like 90,000 at the time?
No, we had
$198.
198.
Yeah, we had like 200,000 almost left.
Yeah,
So 100,000 we put into the general reserve that was approved earlier today. And then the other, we had already set aside 100,000 even before.
oh, right,
For
yes.
special allocations. So even with 100,000 set aside for next year's special allocations, we still had 198 or so, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I need to fix the request column. So 100,000 we were able to put to the general reserve to bring it back up to 500,000. And then the other 98 we put back in special allocations.
Yes, so,
So
yeah.
this could be allocated, starting at that pre-Senate meeting to other programs if you want. But again, we're not necessarily gonna have this much money in future years, so be careful how much you allocate to other programs, because they might expect to get a big amount the year after, and it's not gonna be possible.
Yep, so that's that. So our total for that is 190,000. Oh, Lisa, you wanna say something?
Yeah, I just want to tell the Senate what I told the committee, that next year would be a good year to put out requests to the campus, maybe for special one-time kind of projects, right? Because you have such a large amount in special allocations, or even for your own purposes, like a one-time project that you could use some of this funding for.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me, earlier I mentioned, this, in a similar situation, DC had a lot of extra money, a few different years. 1 year, 200,000 was allocated to help start the Earth Center Environmental Study Building. Another project, I think that one was another C, but might be E as well. The VPAC, Visual Performing Arts Center, was also funded with DSG seed funding. So that's also a DSG initiated project or supported project on campus, building on campus. So yeah, so that might be one thing you could consider for next year is, if you do have a lot of money, you could put out, let the campus know, we've got extra money this year because of, COVID relief funds and whatever. So, if you have any ideas for some big projects, at least for, one time, not necessarily ongoing stuff, please submit them to DHG.
Yep, that's a good point, yeah. So with that being said, for special allocations, that's $190,643, and that basically concludes our Fund 41. Are there any questions, first of all? Anything? It's like half the Senate is gone.
I think you did an awesome look.
All right, thank you, Jason, thank you so much. Is we done?
No, you're not done.
Done?
With budget, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay, one last business item, which is the Legislative Affairs Liaison Internal Elections. Do we have our two candidates? Yeah, so could we go here, and for the structure.
We could check to see how many people are left. It looks like we got.
Yeah, it's team.
Yeah.
Was that 17?
Yeah, more than 17.
Oh.
So the structure
We
for
currently
this.
have 24 senators. on
That's
the
what
board.
16, right? That was like 16.
So I think the full Senate is 26, we'll receive 20 positions.
But then you get.
No, 3, that's right, Steve. So we have 23 divided by 2. That's 12, so we need at least 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the forum will be 2 minutes per individual statement, 10-minute group Q&A, and then you'll each have 1 minute for a statement, 10 minutes of private discussion just in the Senate, and I'll put the timer up, and then you can decide who wants to go first. Whenever. Yeah, whenever you go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Arman. I'm a second-year international student from Yerevan, Armenia, a small country from the Caucasian Mountains. Now I'm participating in the election of Legislative Affairs Liaison. And I think that this role deeply coincides with me. I don't know. I think that every opinion of every student should be heard, should be understood, and should be resonated. And in all of this thing, I think that the student government should do everything. So every student here in this college, every student can be feel heard and can be feel that understanding. I think that my previous experience, diverse experience in different volunteering organizations such as Red Cross, such as like European Union, and also my internship and my internships in Armenian government can help this team to get to better heights. As a person, I'm more a team player than a solo player. So I think that the best organization and collaboration can take the college to a whole new level. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eddie, and I'm part of the administration committee as an intern. I started interning at late winter quarter after I drafted a mock resolution to propose a resolution to divert the funding responsibilities for the SSC towards DASG instead of DASG. Currently, I'm a psychology major, but I used to major in business administration. In the future, I want to work as an industrial organizational psychologist, which is a psychologist more in the business world. So I'll be improving employee engagement and workforce development, as well as improving overall development of companies. Right now, I'm taking comparative religion, environmental science, physical anthropology, and research method and psychology, and I'm taking a work study course over at Foothill. I'm a second generational citizen, and in my entire life, I've moved 3 times, all within a 10 by 10 mile radius. A fun fact about me is I like to take a walk at night. Some of my favorite games is League of Legends and Overwatch, and my favorite movie is by far The Truman Show. Another fun fact about me is I never drink coffee in my entire life. I like to end my intro off by saying, during my time as an intern, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the responsibility that came with it and working with people in the administration committee. And I'm looking forward to the added responsibilities and the contributions I can make as a legislative affairs liaison affairs officer. Thank you.
And we'll be starting the 10-minute group Q&A right now. Just to check, does anyone have a question to start us off before I start the time? Anyone? Yeah, and let's try to keep it to serious questions. Okay, let's start. Javier.
What have you done to prepare for the role of legislative affairs liaison? Have you done anything?
It's for me or okay. Okay, for me, I'm interning in administration committee at the start of the last quarter. For this, like when I was interning up to now, I was working with the previous legislative affairs liaison woman. I had during her with her, we discussed a couple of the bylaws at that time when it was like there were changing in bylaws. To prepare for this role, I read the administration code to fully understand what it means to be the legislative affairs liaison. I read the general information about the SSCCC, the Student Senate of California Community Colleges, the place where the legislative affairs liaison shows and demonstrates our college to whole California. So I guess I have done something to prepare for this role. Thank you.
For the past year and a half, I started a small e-commerce business as a hobby. And with that, that required a copious amount of research. So that included articles, research papers, and overall just researching companies. So a lot of the time I spent was going through LinkedIn, researching the people that I need contact, which for this position, for this situation, I was looking to contact recruiters, or people, position in powers I could kind of pitch my business. So there was a lot of research involved that which I kind of incorporated to draft my resolution and during my time at the intern. Right now, I'm working as a behavior specialist, which is a person that creates behavior intervention plans for people with autism. And with that, there's a huge emphasis in team collaboration, working as a team and just doing general research and I guess zoning in one specific goal. I'm also volunteering at the Red Cross. I'm a preparedness lead volunteer, which means I handle case by case. Specifically, I'm handling cases in smoke alarms. So if there's a smoke alarm that was emitted and there was a fire, I would analyze that case and I guess draft a resolution or like a timetable to see what really went on, whether the Red Cross can be a helpful organization for the people that were involved in the fire. Other than that, that's about it.
Next, Matthew.
What is an issue you are interested in working on as a legislative affairs liaison, and how would you use your unique like position and duties in that role to help work on this issue?
That's a good question. So one specific, I guess, problem that I've noted is that there's a lack of representation of programs at the ANFA. For example, for the Student Success Center, I went there to do a interview with the co-director, and that was my first time going there, and I had a pretty hard time finding a class. There was no placard, no sign. There wasn't anything that would point me to the general direction, which, for your information, the tutoring service was at the very back on the third floor. And again, it didn't really have any sign to tell me what it is. This is one instance. Another time is I went to Fit Home, and I'm not sure if my perspective is skewed or not, but when I went to Fit Home, every wall available had retail on it. It had flyers, programs, people advertising what they're doing. There was even a mural created by a program advertising the program, which I found really interesting. So even though I really appreciate the environment at the ESA, I feel like they're doing a lot of work. Looking at Foothill and the other community colleges that I traveled to, I can feel that there's a lot of work in representing the committee and programs that we have right now.
Please, can you? Both answer the
Yeah, you can answer.
Yeah. Please, can you repeat
Yeah.
the first part?
So, what is an issue you are interested in working on if you get this position, and how would you use the unique duties and parts of being a legislative affairs liaison to work on that issue?
So legislative affairs liaison is a person as an officer that works like in a more global, on more global like issues that is connected to our college, our state, and other colleges. So I think that at this position, person should try to make change in a whole new level with the new bylaws, with a new like bills. For example, one of the problems I can see now is the affordable housing problem. Our college is in Cupertino, in Bay Area, one of the most expensive places. So as an officer, I would try to make a bill that will keep that will subsidize the students for housing, or will make a bit more affordable. It will change many more students' lives, I would say, because currently, like, for example, a price for a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment starts from $2,200. It's a huge money. But if there is a way to get subsidies from state, it would be very helpful. Also, I saw like very good promotions for university students. For example, like Toyota gives $500 credit for university students, but that rule is not applying for college students. So if there is a way to make that promotions also applicable for college students, it would be very helpful. Thank you.
Dorothy.
So this is a question from Joel. As a legislative affairs liaison, you'll be working with SSCCC representing the college student needs and wants on the regional level. What are some initiatives you would like to take once you get this position?
Oh,
It's a loaded question.
I can, yeah.
Should I repeat it?
No, I understood the question, but I'm going to tell about maybe the same thing as the last question. The housing problem, the programs and like offers that should be applicable also for college students. And also another interesting thing is gonna be to get some, for our college, to get better cafeteria. It's a very long time that there are some problems with cafeteria. At first it's closing or selling, it still it's unknown what's going to be. So I guess if there's a way to get some fuel, something about the cafeteria to make it better for our students, it will be helpful. Thank you.
For me, I would kind of reiterate what I answered for her question. But for this one, I think it's more specific to statewide or federal wide, which is community college students aren't really represented when it comes to job applications or trying to, I guess, put themselves out there. Like, for example, in DASG, international students aren't allowed to get a job outside the college, which is really unfortunate for anyone who wants to take initiative and try something new. For me specifically, I applied to countless jobs, internships, and I do think it's in part of my lack of experience, but I think given the fact that I am a community college student, it wouldn't be as much of a appeal to the recruiters or anything like that. So with that, if I were to represent the answer, I would initiate more internship opportunities, more ways for someone to be acclimated to the preferred career goal. Right now, we have the Human Merit Scholars Program, we have Handshake, and we have a bunch of in-campus job applications. But for the most part, those are taken by international students or people who really desperately need it. But what about the people who kind of want a job or kind of want an internship, where their only source is Handshake, which for the most part, again, they're at a disadvantage because they're community college students, because they're competing with people in Stanford and the other surrounding colleges. But yeah, if I were to represent the answer, I would try to initiate more internship opportunities across the board.
We have time for one last short question. Anyone, Jason?
Can I just ask the short question is, what do you think is the true role of a law liaison, legislative affairs liaison?
I think the true role is to represent the student body, which in our case would be drafting resolution. And with that resolution, it's very hard to represent everyone because of different demographics. But I think having an inclusive and diverse perspective, making sure everyone is represented in the resolution is the most important part in the position.
Our students' voice should be heard. And I think that we should do everything for that. And for me, as like maybe a future liaison, I should do everything that every student can come and tell or write about their concerns. Students should think and should believe that there are people that are standing for them, they are doing things for them, and they can be confident in everything they're doing.
Okay, yeah, we're out of time. Thank you. So I don't think anyone has a motion to extend. So we're going to be deliberating for 10 minutes if you. Oh, yes, correct. So now both of you will have an opportunity to do a 1-minute closing statement. Does anyone want to? Okay.
So I'm sure all of you have given a brief overview of who I am and what I could bring to the table as a legislative liaison affairs officer. But what you didn't know is during my short time, I've been given the initiative to do what I think I'm passionate about. But during my short time, which is around 4 weeks of working, I've been planning on interviewing the students and staff in the Student Success Center, and I've been keeping contact with the co-director of that tutoring service. In addition, I worked with another administration intern in preparing the summer 2023 class schedule to see if we can improve it. And also I'm working with 2 marketing interns to create a marketing post. With that, there was actually a mention of a survey, which I planning to today, I contacted 35 students and I got them to sign in. I'm not sure if they did the Google form, but I got them to sign in. Thank you.
So, yeah, at the end of the day, first, I want to thank you, all of you. I appreciate that, like, it's already about 7 PM, but you are here. Thank you very much. I won't say that. At the end, I won't say that. I think that the power isn't true. And I want to say that I will try for the college, for our students. And I think that our teamwork, collaboration, and organization will lead us and our college, our students to new more heights. Thank you very much.
I will be having 10 minutes of celebration, so you could both wait outside and build. Okay. And does anyone want to start so I can start the timer? Either.
What do you guys think?
On.
I think it's a bit weird because I think Eddie sort of is very more, I think he gets the role of the legislative liaison more, but then for the most part, on the first few questions, the one that's actually answering the questions is actually Armand, not him.
Also, one short thing, if you go to the DASG website, you can see their written applications, which could be helpful. But.
One chat GPT.
Huh?
One person chat GPT and forgot to take like the last.
Yeah.
What?
If you guys check it out, I think it's Armand's applicant, yeah.
Nah, we ain't having that, right?
No.
I'm gonna be drafting resolution.
Remember that you customize this to the first like you.
Okay. Nah.
Wait. To be fair, can we run the whole thing to ChatGPT and say that keyboard?
No.
Okay, this is.
Not accurate.
No, but like,
Okay, I mean, this is, okay.
I mean, what about the other parts though?
you don't get it.
I'm just saying, if you're writing resolution and if the state assembly saw this. That ain't gonna cut it.
Okay, can we see the other answer? The.
Sure.
Okay, this, which
I
question do you
mean.
want to see?
Oh, yeah.
Which question?
Okay, I don't think that's ChatGPT, at least I don't see it.
You'll sit.
I mean, GPT 0 at 100% is pretty telling. I mean, we can just.
That is not true.
DSAG moment.
Renji?
I'm not gonna like lie to you guys. I'm gonna be working with them because I'm also part of SSCCC. I might abstain because I don't really feel like either of them kind of display the skills for the SSCCC. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, anyone else have a comment? Chris?
I will say, I think that they have the qualifications for the position. What worried me though, at the moment was that they both sound really busy. And even besides the fact that legislative affairs liaison already has a pretty busy schedule, you have to pile that on top of other responsibilities as a senator, like office hours, field hours, share gov. So I'm not too confident on if maybe they can maintain the time commitment as of right now.
Isaac?
I'm fine. Yes, I'm fine with people abstaining. I don't think we're in a rush in getting a new senator.
One thing, just sorry, really quick, but we need to be sending someone to the SSCCC General Assembly. And if it's not the Legislative Affairs Liaison, that's going to be kind of difficult. So just, it would be very, it would be better to have one right now.
That's in April, right?
You should know better.
That's in April.
But yeah,
That's
yeah.
still like.
But
It's in 2 months.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Joel?
Yeah, to add to that, it would be nice to send to someone to GA, and also, since I am working with SSCCC, like for NG, we do need a delegate, soon at least, because they've been bugging me too. So if we can't find a delegate, I'll have to find an alternative in that way. And then going to their question responses, I felt that, what was the first candidate's name? I'm
Eddie or Armin?
Armin, right? Armin. I felt like his responses were veered better towards the questions that we gave him. It looks like he has like a general understanding, and he's actually worked with, I guess, Ume, in that respect, and he knows what, I guess, like, the current challenges we have at Dianza. And it looks like on a statewide level, he would be able to represent Dianza. And I'm not too worried about him GBTing, although that would kind of suck. Since if we are going to do resolutions, which is due on February 14th of this year, so I don't know if he'll have time, or if both of them will have time to submit a resolution. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks. Let's go back to Isaac.
Well, I just wanna say, I mean, if you think if you think like the thing looks better, but like, bruh, the computer literally wrote this. Like, I don't think that's a fair measurement, no? Like, it's like, I don't know, I just don't think that's appropriate. And at least if you do it, like, delete it, like, like, at least don't let us catch it, you know?
Does anyone remember who was next?
I was just gonna say, like, if you're gonna use ChatGPT and not even like read.
Okay, let's not talk about that right now. And this is also Senate deliberation, so sorry, but yeah. Yeah.
Okay, wait, this is a really quick comment that I just had to say about like the ChatGPT. Obviously, insane fumble, leaving it up, but like, as if all of us have never used ChatGPT, like, I'm just gonna be, I don't think, no, okay. Like, I don't think for like a DHG Senate application, we need to be like, oh my god, like, to use ChatGPT, like, I understand leaving it in, but it's like, it's not like, I don't feel like it's like.
Okay, let's talk about candidates, not ChatGPT. Does anyone have a comment on candidates?
I just think if like the current members, like Grinchi will work the legislative affairs liaison. But if it doesn't feel comfortable with the voter, I think we should just, yes, abstain. If, because it's not in a rush anyway, right?
Joel just said that the deadline to submit resolution is February 14th, plus we need to pre-register for the General Assembly. We can't just like register right before. So we don't. So yeah, it would be, if you think either of these candidates are qualified, it would be very fundamental. Bertie?
I just also want to know one more thing. We do have an alternate delegate who's Maria. So if we're from source and we're not able to find a delegate, Maria can take over for general assembly.
Okay, anyone comment on candidates? Isaac.
I worked with Eddie, and honestly, he's pretty responsible. Like, I told him to like ask SSC, and then like he like actually did it like that afternoon. Like, he's actually like pretty responsible. And the other thing is, I sent out a survey today, and then I just checked, and there's 25 responses, which is honestly pretty good in terms of the efficiency. So he qualifies, but I understand if you don't want to, if you want to vote and abstain, I can understand that.
Joel?
Yeah, I'd like to speak on both candidates. Well, I mean, since I also know Eddie, I know that he's diligent with his work and knows what he's doing, and actually is, I guess, pretty responsible. I just felt that his responses to, I guess, the questions we asked weren't, I guess, necessarily correct. As in, like, how are we gonna vouch for internships on a statewide level for Dianza? I don't feel like that's a pressing issue for Dianza. So in that respect, I guess Armand had like better responses, so he understands a little more. And then whether we choose to abstain or not is whether the fact of, do we want to submit a resolution this year? If we don't choose by now, I'm pretty sure we can't get a resolution in.
Screwing that up.
So-
Jason?
Can I just ask from a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it that we get a liaison right now? Sorry, like on a scale.
They're asking how important it is that we get a legislative liaison today.
Don't do it today. I don't know if you're gonna wanna do it next week or the week after. And, we do have to, I guess, I haven't looked, Isaac, was talking to me earlier today about, the SSCCC General Assembly is, April, end of March, beginning of April, like first week of April, something like that. So we kind of need to have somebody in mind so we can start doing the registration for that. It is in Santa Clara, Santa Clara, so there's no real lodging at least. So pretty much it's just gonna be the registration and any food costs that might be needed.
Yeah, can we get a motion to extend time by however much, Javier?
I move to extend the discussion by 4 minutes.
Is that a good time for everyone? Is there any discussion for amount of time?
Wait, I wanna hear Ted's thought.
I thought from the candidates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't extend discussion. How much time?
5 minutes, please.
5 minutes, good with
Second.
everyone? Moved by Ted, seconded by Isaac, no objections.
I wanna hear Ted's opinion.
Okay, let's start with Ted.
So as an administration committee senator, I've seen Eddie put a lot of work into the committee, even as an intern. He has been working on a lot of legislative side of things in the committee, and I believe he has the work ethic for it. I can see from his questions that he doesn't necessarily answer the things that we want to hear, but yeah, from what I've seen so far, his work ethic is stellar. And I understand here on some of the responsibilities as stated on this application. Yeah, so far from what I've seen, I have confidence that he can be up to task with it.
Comments? Anyone? Hannah?
I also agree that, Eddie has more, I would say, like, experience and maybe he's taking more initiative. But just like looking at his commitments and him working and then also taking the courses he's taking alongside. It's like this is a question of other commitments. And then also what he said, he's working with Red Cross and stuff. I don't know if he would, sorry, I'm blanking out. What Chris said about the time commitment, I don't know if that would work in the long run for the position that he's running.
So he did mention that in the application. Honestly, I'm not sure if we should be sort of evaluating them based on what we think of their time commitment versus if we think if we think they're qualified for the position. I think Jenna was second.
I also think what you said, I don't think we should like plan for them, like,
Yeah.
they might not have time. I think if they're applying for this, like, we should assume they're gonna make it work somehow.
Yeah.
And also, like, he's already been an intern, and from what Ted said, like, he's been putting a lot of time into that. So if he was an intern and putting time that was like not necessarily required of him, then like, I don't think we should question him if he were as a senator.
Also, they both stay till 7, but, was anyone next or can we go to Joel? Matthew and then Joel.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly agree with what Jenna and Lydia, and also looking at the answers to the forms. Eddie did put hours in, but you know, the other application as well, Armand did put, that to the software term. So I mean, we can't judge based on that. I think we have to, take, if they said they can handle it, I think we have to take that and
Okay. focus
focus more on their, quality and skills.
Did I miss someone? Anyone who had a comment?
No, that.
Okay, Javier.
Okay, yeah, with my position, I see a lot of people that are involved with SSCCC. And with every single person that I meet that is involved with the organization, they are very like prepared and committed. Like they talk a lot about like the bills they're working on, the resolution and stuff like on statewide level. And seeing both of these applicants right now, I do think that they have potential. But also like in the long term, if we are gonna have someone working directly with SSCCC, I want to see someone that's gonna be very prepared and like knows what like what exactly they're trying to strive for with SSCCC, right? So at the current moment, I am slightly leaning more towards Eddie, like of the two. But I also wouldn't be opposed to the idea of waiting like further on to be able to see another applicant.
Joel.
Yeah, I agree with Javier for the most part. But just so we know that every time or the amount of time we don't have a delegate for legislative affairs is basically us not getting recognized on like a regional level or state level. When we do have delegate assemblies for all of the colleges in our region, DeAnza has a voice. So if this position isn't filled, basically DeAnza students aren't heard on that level.
I just have a question for Joel, sorry. So I know that we don't have a delegate right now, but since we have an alternate delegate, can that person step in for the role for that, or how does that work?
Wait, can I interrupt really fast? Because that's a bit unrelated about our deciding on our candidates.
I think it's pretty, it's like very,
But we should be evaluating them based on if we think they're qualified versus then if we see a necessity. Any of those?
I just want to say that just because like this term of Senate is like nearing its end, but then the one I see that has like an actual short-term vision of what to achieve, it's Armand that knows what he's gonna tackle immediately, which is quite important since we have like just a little bit of time left in Senate, right? Before we graduate.
Okay. No motions, right? Or do we want to vote? No motions? Okay, let's move on to voting. So this is blind voting, only senators can vote. Just scan the QR code, and if it doesn't work, let me know and I can send you a link. And I'm not sure if anyone finished voting yet, but if you have, please raise your hand. Is that everyone? Okay, results. Okay, so
You should explicitly say that when we come back.
Yes, it's a new era. Yeah, we're done.
So I have Bernchi, Epson, Estia, Amons, Isaac, Eddie, Hannah, Aman, Javier, Eddie, Ariana, abstain, Jason, abstain, Jenna, Eddie, Ian, abstain, Ted, Eddie, Aaron, abstain, Christopher, Blue, Eddie, Matthew, Eddie, Nicholas, abstain, Benjamin, Eddie, Izat, Eddie, Ria, Eddie, Megan, abstain, Leandre, abstain, Joel, abstain.
So, if you could read the total number of votes and then the number of each type of vote, please. So 20.
So there was a total of 20 votes and 2 were for Armand, Eddie, or 9 for Eddie and 9 for abstain.
So neither candidate got a majority, it's 20.
And I just wanna say something. Please don't chat GPT your answers. And especially don't chat GPT it. And then not delete it. Yeah, and I think that I would say I am a bit disappointed by the results. And the election process, I mean, not the election process, but the election. But results are results, so, yeah.
Okay, yeah, unfortunately, we won't be able to elect someone today, but thank you both Eddie and Armand for running today. Can we give them a hand? We'll be moving on to public.
Shouldn't we get them back in?
Huh? They are.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, moving on to public comments. Any? Moving on to advisor announcements. Are there any advisor announcements?
Just help get the word out about student elections for all the positions, the executive officer, of course. And hopefully we'll get enough candidates by Monday at 4 p.m. If not, like I said, Isaac, Ted and I will meet on Monday afternoon. See what's going on.
Okay, Hanju, do you have any advisor announcements?
Okay, moving on to introduction and approval of prospective senators. If you're interested in running for midterm election, this will be counted as one of the Senate meetings, but we will not be having introduction and approval of prospective senators during budget deliberations, which is going to be scheduled for the next 2 weeks.
Possibly 3.
Yeah. So if you're interested in running for legislative affairs liaison, vice chair of programs, social media officer, you can line up over here and type your info. What?
Yeah, they would start over. They would have their 3 more meetings after this, so they can run for 5 and approve them.
You have to attend the.
Yeah, that's. Election for vice chair. Well, I mean, they would have to be answered at all meeting any. They would have to be answered at their program. But don't you have no.
Hi, everyone. It's my first meeting and I'm trying to run for vice chair program. Anish, A-N-I-S.
Hello everyone, my name is Darren Edgar Sangano and this is my second meeting and I would like to be the vice chair of programs as well.
Hi, I'm Victor, and this is my second meeting, and I would like to run for social media officer.
Hi, I'm Allison Lay. It's my first meeting and I'm running for social media officer.
Hi, my name is Al Flores. This is my second meeting and I'm running for hopefully the social media officer. Thank you.
Okay, just a reminder for these positions. Can you put it down again?
Yeah, but this will be his first meeting.
Okay.
And it's actually.
Oh, no.
Okay. I'm Eddie. I'm going to run again for the next liaison affairs, and this is my first meeting.
I think this weekend. That's a good one. Yeah. I think where's the budget? Sign up. Then agree. Then we're not taking it. Signing up.
I would say running to be too.
Yeah, no, I do that every meeting.
No, yeah, that's a spot. That's pretty good actually.
What's my third semester? You want to say?
Hello, my name is Brian. Yeah, it was Brian, running through the legislative affairs and PTC.
Okay, one more thing, if you're interested in running for a midterm senator position, you have to be an intern in the committee that has the vacancy. So for vice chair of programs, you have to join programs and so on and so forth. Okay, I adjourn this meeting at 7:27 p.m.